Good morning,
Hello.
everyone. Today is Monday, February the 7th. This is the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners regularly scheduled board meeting. This meeting was posted on the board's website, and we have received no additional information. We do have quorum at this time, so I will start by roll call in just a minute. The agenda was posted to the board's website as of last Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. And so at this point, let me make sure that we have in-person quorum for our meeting by roll call vote. Ron Gillihan.
Here.
Ms. Becky Russell. Judy McAllister. Here. Patricia Parsons. Here. Mona Sappenfield.
Here.
Amy Tanksley.
Here.
Frank Gambusa. Put Frank out. Anita Charlton. Here. Livette Granger. Ms. Granger's not with us. Janie Ross. Here. John Cagle. So out. And Monica Lemons.
Here.
We have quorum in order to proceed. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you for a minute.
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is welcome all of our guests and visitors here. They're here in the audience, and the folks watching on online. The first item of business is the approval of the December 2021 minutes. Do we have any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roxanne, do we have anybody online in the meeting, or? No. So
We're all here, so we won't be doing roll call vote. We've got to all be in person, so thank you for asking.
The next item of business is the legislative updates.
Thank you, sir. I will turn it over to our attorney, Hugh Cross, to give the board any updates that have taken place. As the board is aware, the legislative session started in January. I believe final bills and chapters can be open if they haven't already closed in the next week or so. That deadline will close, and at the April meeting, we will give updates again. Please do stay on top of those changes. As all of you know, they can happen pretty quickly. Thank you, Hugh.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So we do have a few bills here I'd like to update the board on. The first one is Senate Bill 2754, and this bill was limited in information, but the current summary, it could be amended later, but the current summary is essentially shortening the amount of time a barber student must complete the requisite hours and courses. So instead of from 7 years from the date of original enrollment, the bill is purporting that it would be 8 years instead of 7.
So it actually increases the time for them to go to.
It increases it. Sorry about that. The second one would be Senate Bill 1722. And this bill you all may already be aware of, but it extends the board sunset hearing to June 30th, 2028. So there was a 6-year extension, and that happened at the sunset hearing on September 15th last year. And the last one is Senate Bill 2394. This bill is interesting because as it's proposed, it will apply to boards and other entities as well, but it will permit boards to have a combination of in-person physical presence, participation, as well as participation by electronic or other means. And the one caveat here, as written currently, is the board will be required to meet in person one time per calendar year. But the remainder of the participation can be remote through the year. So I thought that was interesting. It's currently proposed, so all of these are proposed, and I'll follow each of them and update you on these bills if there are any amendments, and as well as any other bills that may come up. So
Under that one, you may not know, under that one as it's proposed, would it allow the combination that some could be here and some online? Okay.
my understanding is yes.
Yes,
What's
that's
the
our
number of that
understanding.
bill? Hugh, excuse me, what is the number on that bill?
It's Senate Bill 2394,
Okay. Who's the senator that,
Johnson.
okay.
And that's all the bills I have currently for this legislative update. But
Okay, thank you very much. I
absolutely.
appreciate that. Folks, it's that time of year where we need to adopt Robert's Rules of Orders again for our operation of our meetings. Do we have any discussion or questions or a motion?
Make a motion to approve Robert's Rules of Order.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is election of officers. Roxanne, I'll give that back to you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Again, in line with what Chairman Gillihan mentioned, our first meeting of the year, we comply with Robert's Rules of Order, and we also statutorily have to elect a chair and vice chair. So I'll open the floor. This is related to TCA 62-4-105, where a board shall elect annually a chair and vice chair. If there are any motions, we can do chair first and vice chair second, if that's okay with the board. And there are no limitations on an individual being able to serve again.
I nominate Ron Gillihan for chair.
Second the motion. I'll second. I agree.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Patricia Parsons and a second by Ms. Janie Ross to suggest and recommend our current chair, Ron Gillihan, for the 2022 session. With those motions in place, are there any other recommendations? Okay, hearing none. Should I do roll call vote? It's been a minute. Yeah, by roll call vote, let me go ahead and I will leave Mr. Gillihan off the vote. Ms. Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister? Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley?
Yes.
Anita Charlton? Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you and congratulations, Mr. Gillihan, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before we did it to you again, we're wrong.
Next, we will take any motions for vice chair.
Nominate.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Judy McAllister. Motion, second by Ms. Amy Tanksley to nominate again Ms. Becky Russell. And by roll call vote, first of all, are there any other recommendations? Okay, hearing none, I'll do roll call vote. Mr. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Thank you. Judy McAllister? Yes. Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley? Yes. Anita Charlton?
Yes.
Janie Ross?
Yes.
And Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you both for serving. You are very, very appreciated. I believe that takes care of our items for business. We can start with those appearing before the board. We have several schools in front of us and 2 continuing education sessions also to be considered. So going by the agenda, if the individuals are in the room and I've missed them, we'll please make sure to have them step up. Otherwise, you have the first school starting on page 3. This is PPG Academy of Artistry, LLC. It is a new cosmetology school. Ms. Anjanea Burns is participating, I believe, telephonically. The school application was presented at the August and at the December board meeting with still some updates needed. Everything was received timely. And Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you. The only thing I want to point out is this school redid their catalog. It was one of the items that I sent everyone information to make sure to go on SharePoint and look at it. The catalog was about triple the size of the entire presentation, not a number of pages, but just beautiful images. And so it made it impossible to send. So I apologize for that.
Thank you, Roxana. And Ms. Burns, if you're online, may have a few questions for you as we go through. As I get started here, most of you know I simply go down the information that's presented and check for the required policies and statements in the formats that is in the rules and regulations. So in this particular school, I found that there were several items that were unclear or mistakes or just missing outright. I'm going to go back and refer to my notes here just a little bit. This may not be in any particular order. The credit hour equivalents that are presented, I'm not quite sure that I understand why that's in there. Roxana, the board does not grant credit hours. Is that correct? It's not on our curriculum listed that way anywhere.
As credits, no, it's just a set number of hours. Some states do, so oftentimes we have to translate them or do the best to provide a transcript. But if the school is dealing with maybe other businesses or other states that require them, I could see them maybe listing that.
And I did see in several places that was kind of listed side by side, but unfortunately, in many of those places, the school's clock hours were not listed. They had hours represented for credit hours, but not clock hours. There is also some categories in the information regarding asynchronous classes, and as we know, the board has never approved asynchronous work where it's strictly up to the student at any time they want with no supervision. That's my understanding of the asynchronous.
And I think during COVID, Pivot Point, both Pivot Point and Milady had online courses. Is that not what they would be referring to?
No, there's
Okay.
what we've always approved has been the synchronous, where the instructor is monitoring as it goes. Okay.
I think Ms. Burns is on the call. Ms. Burns, did I hear you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's what I was referring to whereas my lady, I have a meeting with Pivot Point to speak with them as well, but everything is would be through that. So that's what I was referring to, just like you said, Ms. Roxanne.
On our reports, that will be on page 25 of our reports.
That's your page 16, I believe, Ms. Burns. Is that correct? Chairman Gillihan.
Oh, I had a question. What was the question?
It was regarding the asynchronous learning. Now you have, what I'm seeing here is that there's two different delivery methods that you've got in your information. You have synchronous listed, which would be okay, but the asynchronous is the component that would be not proper. Some of the little items in here, it's actually required, and I know some of this may sound like it's nitpicking, but I promise I'm just going through the rules. The pages in the enrollment agreement are not numbered. That's so that a student will know when they've got the entire enrollment agreement and not just superfluous documents in there. I did not see a floor plan on the version that I had on SharePoint, but I believe here there is a floor plan. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, it should be right after the application, and I'm scrolling back, but that should be, yes, it's on page 6 of your iPad.
I see it now. Okay. There did not appear to me to be a final signature page for the student. It may have been internally in some of the other documentation, but I just could not locate it. Do you know where the signature page would be, Ms. Burns, for your enrollment agreement?
Page 24.
Page 24 of your document?
33 of
Yes,
ours.
sir.
In your documents, can you tell me where to find your statement that provides that the student has received their contractual information prior to signing the document? That is a statement that is required to be in your enrollment agreement.
It's within the enrollment and agreement. I mean, if I would have highlighted it if I would have known you wanted me to actually pinpoint it.
verbiage is clear in the rule that says that the individual, the student, the enrollment agreement has to have the statement that said they've received the information prior to paying any money and signing the document. While you're looking for that, also, I did not find an acknowledgement that the student had read and received and understood. That's prior to paying. That's what we just spoke about. I did not find any policy regarding the required sanitation code. I did not find your policy in your documents to indicate that you would keep your full-time and part-time files separate. I did not find a policy regarding a backup time system or a backup method for backing up student hours so that you have more than one fail-safe there.
Chairman Gilhan, page 23 or page 32 has the sanitation. Are instructed on all aspects.
Okay. Thank you. Put it in there.
And then page 24, if you look before they signed, I have received a copy of the enrollment agreement for any personal records. That's not what you're looking for?
Well, that statement is required in other areas in the rules, but there's a particular one that says the student receives it prior to paying money. Do you know where that might be, Ms. Burns? We're trying to make sure you have this.
No, I'm trying to read over it. I mean, like I said, I've placed it in there, but I just can't pinpoint it right now. But can you tell me exactly what you said that it must be stated that way?
You have to have a declaration that the student has received their contractual information, the enrollment agreement, essentially, prior to paying funds to the school.
I can't pinpoint it. Let me see. Refund policy. Yeah, I know that, but.
Ms. Burns?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew that you were not muted.
Okay, Ms. Burns, on your documents, page 2, your intake form, you have reference to full-time students, 40 hours, including hybrid and assignments. This does not apply to part-time students, 20 to 29 hours. Is that two separate schedules that you have for part-time students? Because your enrollment agreement is not clear on that. If it is,
Yes, it's two schedules.
for the part
Full-time is 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Part-time 8 to 12:30, Monday through Friday. I'm still trying to pinpoint the prior, because it's in here. I just can't pinpoint it exactly how you want it to be stated. Is that something I can add in?
that is something that you can look up in the rules on the state's website. It's clearly in the rules. You just simply look it up and you can use that language. Okay.
Chairman Gilhan, on page 10 of her enrollment agreement, or page 19 on the promissory note, would that meet the students, because it's got a signature at the bottom?
The promissory note is a separate document apart from the enrollment agreement itself. The state has the requirements that go directly in the enrollment agreement.
Would it be too much to ask that I can add that into my enrollment agreement, because I cannot pinpoint it right now, but I know that it's in there. Is that something that can't be added, or it must be received before the meeting?
Well, we've got a couple more items to cover here, I believe, so we'll get to that shortly. In your program, am I correct that you're going to do the instructor's program as well, or was that just not something that was attached to this? I didn't see anything about an instructor. This is
Yeah.
The instructor's on page 18 of ours, her page 9.
okay. I'm not seeing the required statement for the instructor's training that an instructor trainee must have 3 years licensure prior to enrolling. So,
Yes, I'm aware of that. I can add that in as well. I mean, because beforehand it was like so many notes that I took from the last session. It was like you had so many things for me to do. I did check off everything. That's the only thing they had in the description as an instructor training, but I am aware of it, that it's 3 years. I can add that as well if it's not too much to ask.
I'm looking in your enrollment agreement. I may have found it here about your weekly hours and your program hours. For instance, on the cosmetologist, 1,500 hours. I'm looking for, I see your schedule here that you have the students' hourlies. Okay, and below that I see the weeks of instruction as well. So you're good on that one. Okay. You also did not have any policies regarding the required transfer hour policies statements. So on our page 11, I have a note regarding the nails curriculum. Sorry.
Is it on page 11?
I'm sorry, I believe it's your page 11. I apologize. No.
My page 11 is registration
I'm sorry.
fee.
Ms. Burns,
Okay.
I apologize. I read my notes wrong. That was, there were 2 instances where there were some issues I noticed with your nail curriculum. I was just making a notation. There were 2 places for that. So that pretty much wraps up my notes on this school. There are several items that are still missing. There are several items that are a bit incorrect. And additionally, the enrollment agreement particularly seems to have some issues for me that is not clear where it ends. So do we have any other comments or information, any questions?
Yes, I mean, she's got a prorated cost if they drop out or everything. I'd like to see or break it down where the students understand how much the percentage they'll get back out at the hours they've accumulated. If you could just add that on there for your refund calculations.
Which page are you referring
I'm on
to?
page 11 of hers. At the very bottom, it just says students will be entitled to prorated refund. It doesn't break down by how much. I think if she could just add the percentages for hours.
Yes, ma'am, I can do that.
Yeah, so they're clear on it.
Members, I'm always really excited to get people into work and get shops open and things like that in schools. Unfortunately, in this case, I feel like this really needs some more work. I think that students are going to have an issue with this. My recommendation would be that they work on this a bit more. Simply open up the State Board's website and go to the rules, and everything is clearly listed for the requirements of all the policies and all the documents in there. Just follow that, and you should get to be able to be pretty clear on this. These are required things for the protection of the public, which in this case happens to be the students. So.
Yes, sir, I'm aware of the rules. I went off of the notes from previous meetings that you just pinned out. So you pinned out some more issues, but I am aware of the rules, and I have several students waiting to sign this enrollment agreement. I mean, nobody seems to have a problem with signing, and we're just ready to get started. But I totally understand what you're saying. Like I said before, if it's not too much to ask the specific issues that you see with my presentation, because I have students waiting to get started.
Thank you. Do the members have any more questions or input or information? Do we have a motion regarding this program?
I would ask if there's just a clear list of the outstanding items that if those can be accomplished, that we could approve the school without her having to come back to the board.
I can provide my notes and things to Roxana, and normally I'm always in favor of doing that, to not postpone them. Whenever there's one or two minor things or something that's small that's easily fixed, but I think this one has some issues that if that would be your motion, that's great. Personally, I think this one.
No, I don't have a motion.
If I could ask for the big items that we're looking for, I know the instructor's 3 years, that's a separate statute, but she's right on that. And then the refund being prorated, the refund does need more detail. The sanitation was there. The enrollment agreement, Ron, I know that it kind of goes on and on. You're wanting it to have very specific pages and be clear, right?
It should have, this is the enrollment agreement, this page 1 of 2, 3 of, page 3 of 5, whatever, with signatures and initials. I think the requirement is on the bottom of each page. There's transfer hour policies missing. The reasons that they may terminate someone are unclear. They're kind of scattered out through everywhere.
And I think that's the case with the enrollment agreement as well. She has initials and pages. It's just spread out.
There's nothing that says this is the final page of the document, so the student wouldn't know. There's several places where they require certain acknowledgments that not only have they read and received and understand it, but it has to say that it's prior to paying any money by the students. policies to keep files, full-time, part-time files separate, backup policies for maintaining their school's time records.
All language regarding asynchronous
Yeah.
education to be removed, and that's in several different locations.
With the credit hour, clock hour information that's provided for each program, in many instances, how many hours in the curriculum are required are not there. The credit hours are there, but the clock hours that coincide are not there in several places. So,
Frank, could I get you to press the, there you go. Good.
I'm live?
Now I hear
Yeah.
you, yes.
I
Thank
think
you,
I
sir.
sit somewhere between you and Amy on this. What if we gave a detailed list, as you have, and then give the authority to Roxana to, if that checklist is satisfied, item by item, then we just move forward with it without her having to wait till the next meeting, and obviously be detailed. But I think I'm kind of nominating you, Rox, but
Thank you, Frank.
I guess you'd have to agree on that too. But
No,
you know, I see both sides of this. But you know, if the other side is aggressive to get this done, they're unaware of it, and they're willing to satisfy the board with its needs, I think that could be a solution.
this was a represent.
Twice we
Twice.
represent August and December.
Okay.
And I think this time the list, I've made notes, but I also, as you know, we put the video back out on the website when the meeting ends. She'll be able to hopefully go back through the list because we started with a longer item, but some of them we found. And I think some of the issues is that it's spread out. That enrollment agreement keeps going and going, so it doesn't narrow down. I think that'll be part of the simplification if the board's okay with it. Frank, I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. With that said, I'd make a motion that if the required list is satisfied, that we, for Roxana to be able to move forward. So I put that motion on the floor.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Alistair?
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Congratulations. You and I will be in touch. I'll give you plenty of time to work on those.
Thank you, Ms. Marcena.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Roxana, I would just like to make a note at this time. I think Yvette and I are wearing the crowns of school inspections right now. And so many people get passed by the board, but then they don't understand why a board member comes to their shop or to their school. And we really do need to see the files. We do need to see that you're going to be following the rules, and we need to see the student packets that, you know, when the student walks in. And so it really needs to be pretty clear that it's almost like for myself and Jerry to do an educational process of why we're here. And so if you'll just get your paperwork in order and the student files, that really would be so very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great feedback, especially, you know, Ms. Lemon's just starting out doing inspections, and we've got a few on her part as well. I think the issue with the student files that confuses some of our new school owners is they don't have a student, right? The statute used to require 15 for barbers way back in the day, I think 20 for Cosmetology, and 5 for our specialty schools. There is no requirement to have students at all. So as we talk to schools and we go through them, and I think in my email letting them know, yes, you're ready to inspect, I think what I'm hearing is they really need to print blank copies of what they would be going over with the student, because there are no student files when you walk in to inspect, but a blank copy that shows that final student agreement as they want it, or on the computer. Maybe some of them are using technology and want to do it virtually. That needs to be ready for you to review. Absolutely.
Right. Some of the schools that I've been in present me like with a marketing brochure to attract students to their school. Well, that's not what I'm there for. So, and everybody's really lovely, but that, it's kind of a waste of my time and the board's time to not be efficient in that. So they would just kind of shore that up, and it would be really reassuring that we're doing the right thing.
And in reality, you should be looking at what you're approving here. Their contract shouldn't be changing from the time you approved it unless they caught typos or things of that nature. So you're really looking at a blank contract that you've already seen, but that would help you guide them. And then the log of hours, that's a big thing to make sure that they've got that backup in the system ready to go. Thank you. I love that thought. Okay, next on your iPads, we start with Mid-South Cosmetology and Barber Association. This is a new barber apprenticeship school. Ms. Shadana Banks is participating with us. This school is already licensed to offer cosmetology. They are located in Memphis. The school application was presented to the board at the December meeting, and the board asked for several updates to be presented before you today. Ms. Banks, are you on the call with us?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Thank you. Mr. Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Banks. Thank you for joining us today. When I'm looking at your floor plan, I see you have space for the cosmetology and then for the barber classrooms. You have a multi-purpose room. Is that something that you share between the classes, or is that just another space that you like to utilize?
It's a space that I share between the two. It's an extra space if needed.
Are you teaching both? Are you going to be teaching both in the same room at the same time?
No. Okay. I have several different, I have 3 different ones, 3 different classes.
A little bit of a trick question there. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to try to lead you somewhere, but sometimes folks will try to do that. I don't see any type of floor space listed on this. Do we know what the dimensions are, Ms. Roxanne?
I do not. Ms. Banks, what is the total square footage for the school?
For each classroom or for the whole school?
Your entire school?
It's about 2,600 square feet.
And this being apprenticeship only, that's how the cosmetology is as well, so it is limited. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start kind of going down some of my note lists. And again, I apologize. This may not be in a particular order for you. In your enrollment agreement, I did not locate where you had the student's age. Excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Okay, it's required that you document the age and education of an enrollee in the student's file. Where in your documentation can I find the age? Hours and 4. Okay, 16 years old. That's great. Okay. Again, I have some of those same notes regarding the acknowledgement that the student has received their information prior, received their sign or their enrollment agreements prior to signing their documents and paying any money. I did not locate the 3-year requirement for folks doing the instructor program. Are you going to be offering that in the specialty?
Ms. Banks, did you hear the question regarding the instructor? You're not planning on taking on instructors, are you?
Yes, I am. I added the instructor in there. I should have it on page, hold on, because I also included the instructor's enrollment as well.
52.
hold on one second.
In that case, you're missing the 3-year requirement there that the student has to be notified of.
Okay.
I did not find your school's discrimination policy or anti-harassment policy anywhere.
I thought I had it in there. It's a discrimination policy. Hold on one second.
Nations
60.
page 60, yeah.
That one off.
While he's reading over his notes, can you tell me the actual hours of operation? You have the full-time students' hours at 32 and part-time at 20 hours, but I'm not seeing the actual open hours for your school.
It's actually at 9 o'clock until 9 p.m.
And do you have the hours listed somewhere where the students would know when they are expected to be in class?
Yes, I do. I have the at the front of the page. Let me look. Hold on. I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. My internet is down due to the ice. Hold on. Okay. No, I don't. I thought I put it at the top, at the front of the page, my hours.
Okay, I would like for you to add that to both your Barber students and your instructors, just so that they know what is expected. They know when they're expected to be in class.
Okay.
Again, I'd like to see a refund calculation broken down for the students in both of the classes.
Ms. Banks, you're also missing your backup policy for your time sheets and time clocks, how you're going to have a backup for that. I did not locate a maximum time frame policy anywhere in your documents, if you know where that is. On page 1 of your enrollment agreement, page 52 of our reports, you have your class schedule. The Barber Instructor program is what I'm looking at right now. You have your class schedule is 32 hours a week at full time, and that's 10 weeks. That doesn't come out to 300 hours. That's 320 hours. So you'd be requiring them to attend more than is required.
Okay. I'm also with the federal apprenticeship program, and they require more as well. So I'll redo that.
Okay. Hold on. You're with a federal apprenticeship program that requires more hours than the state of Tennessee.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about that? Are you talking about for accreditation? I'm missing something.
No, not for the accreditation. It's the federal apprenticeship program, and I am with them. I'm certified with them as well with the apprenticeship, and they require more hours in order for them to be approved for the federal apprenticeship program. All right, so I'm gone.
The state board has a provision where you can request to add a small percentage of hours for additional training we've approved in the past. Roxanne, are you recalling what I'm talking about?
Yes, we've done that under aesthetics, makeup,
makeup.
just as long as the contract is very clear and the student can go take exams when the hours are met per our statute. I think that's what we've revolved it around. So it would have to be the 300 if we're talking about instructors and so forth.
They'd have to make a specific request to the board for that as well.
If it's an extension.
Yes.
And I think the only thing that the board has said at that point is that we want to make sure that the student knows the requirement in Tennessee and that they can test and get their license and then continue if they choose to.
Because that's an additional thing that they would be voluntarily doing.
Right.
So,
Ms. Banks, does that make sense? Just the requirement
Yes.
for Tennessee, your contracts would have to spell out what the requirement is, and they would have to sign on that. And if they're going over and above, they can sign on with you if the board agrees, but they're allowed to test and get their license before then, statutorily, and in Tennessee.
That's correct. They'll be able to get their license and do everything that the state requires them to do. But if they want to actually do outside of that, the federal government also has funding that they pay them for as well. And they have a contract that they have to stay on and actually get funding from the federal government. It's two separate things.
you have a comment?
Page 81, I see her
It's
pre-enrollment
two separate.
agreement.
Page 81.
Yeah, it's two separate things with the state. The state.
Pre-enrollment before and then after.
I'm sorry, Ms. Banks. We'll be with you in just a minute.
It's her pre-enrollment.
Did you say page 81 of ours?
Ours at page 81. At the top is her prior enrollment agreement, and then afterwards is her enrollment agreement. And I think everything's just so spread out throughout the whole presentation. Just have to look for it.
Patty, I see you're at the top of the page there, and it does indicate that they've, prior to the enrollment and signing, but it needs that money element in there prior to paying any fees.
To it.
Yeah, this statement is in a couple of places already, but it's missing that payment element. Okay. Back to our incorrect hours. Can you tell me, Ms. Banks, anywhere in your contracts here and the information you presented that you have any kind of statement that the student does not have to agree to do that? Because your enrollment agreement specifically says these are the hours they attend. 320.
No, I don't.
Okay. Ms. Banks, kind of a side question to that. Do you have a similar policy or similar enrollment agreement in your cosmetology course that you already offer? I'm trying to help
No,
you
I
not
had
get in
just.
trouble.
Okay. No, I had just actually. This is the first one that I actually was the barber. I haven't did the cosmetology.
Members, do you have any ideas of how we can have her accommodate that in some way that would meet the requirements?
I'm just not sure of the benefit or that association. I'm unfamiliar with it.
We can't.
I can change the information if you all need me to change the information on the enrollment and add that they have a choice that they can do the federal program or just the state program or both.
Ms. Burns, this is Patricia Parsons. Are you with the Department of Ed? Is that what you're considering, like the Title IV? Is that what you're referring to for the instructor training? Or is it a different?
No. For the instructor, no, the instructor training would not benefit at all from the federal government apprenticeship because it's only 300 hours.
All right,
so it's just.
That's what we was.
The instructor program would not. No, it would not benefit at all. No.
So there's no reason for them to do 320 hours then, right?
Exactly right.
Okay.
For the instructor, are we looking at something as simple as the class schedule being 30 hours weekly for 10 weeks instead of 32?
No, as long as their math lines up and they don't require the student to attend more than the state's required hours, and that's what the statement is right now. And I just took the opportunity to look back to page 1 of her enrollment agreement 45 for us. Her Barber apprentice program is exactly the same in that format. 32 hours times 48 weeks is requiring the student to be in school 1,536 hours versus 1,500. So the same issue. That's what I'm saying is we can't require those students to be in the program longer than the state's curriculum.
What I can change the information.
Does the school not have the prerogative to ask for more hours than what the state recommends?
They do with if they have cause. The example that we were just speaking of a minute ago is sometimes a school that has an aesthetics program, there's additional items that they like to offer that is not within the state's curriculum. The state doesn't certify that beyond, but they have to come to the board and lay out their curriculums and their plans and their reasons for wanting to exceed the minimum requirements. And I believe it's a maximum of 10%. So on a aesthetics program, what would it be? 75 hours, something like that.
So, but with that said, Ms. Banks, what is your reason or benefit for asking for additional hours besides the federal thing that you've mentioned?
There's no other reason. I can change that only if they're actually going to attend for their state license and they're not trying to actually get any funding or get paid during when they're in the shop as far as the federal goes. I can change that back.
Thanks to, you mean change it back to the state of Tennessee requirements?
Yes, the state of Tennessee requirements, exactly. I'll have the state of Tennessee requirements if they're only going for their state license. And if they want to go beyond that, then that's when I'll have them to actually sign that they want to go beyond that and go for the federal as well.
That satisfy us, Ron?
Something that could be as simple as a typographical thing in the contract. Some things are a little more complicated than that. But as long as they're just meeting the state requirement and not requiring the student to do more, that'll be okay with me. Just before we move off that topic, though, I'll let everybody know that I found that similar language in several of these schools today. So it's appearing more and more frequently that they, in the contract that the student's agreeing to, they're not necessarily doing that math in their head at the moment, I believe. And so they're signing up for something that whenever it really comes down to it, if there's issues, if they graduate with 1,500 hours as they should, and the school has got 1,536 in that contract, they may be held to that. And
We don't really have jurisdiction over a federal anything, so it would be nice not for it to be confusing.
Yes, and we'll see that several times today. The last thing I want to drop in here is throughout your documentation, I see additional costs popping up on lines throughout the catalog and other areas that really should be identified in the enrollment agreement so the student has a full understanding of what they're going to have to be paying for. And without getting into specific examples on yours, it's items like additional instructional charges, not necessarily in this case, but additional instructional charges, extra fees for transcripts, fees for payment policy issues, things like that. So anything that's tied to a payment, I think, is required to be in that, at least identified in that enrollment agreement. So that's what I have on this one that I noticed, and we did find a couple of those things in there. So Becky or Patty, Amy, anybody have anything else you noticed?
Thing is just make it so clear that the students understand what they're signing up for, and keep it all gathered in one area for them to understand.
Have a recommendation or a motion on this? I'm sorry, Ms. Banks, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it. That's all.
Go about doing this. So alignment, you can think of it just like this. The energy of knowing, you can.
Can you please mute? Thank you. I'm not sure who joined us, but thank you for muting it.
So, Ms. Banks, do you currently have files for students that are signed up for your program?
Yes, I have 2 students that are actually waiting to be signed up right now.
What would the timeline be for her clearing up the concerns, particularly the hours?
I can clear that up today, actually.
Roxana, you want to take on this one too and review the hours?
I don't mind. I think the hours it's just a number. The math didn't make sense. However, I think that federal apprenticeship piece needs to be spelled out somewhere. Similar to Frank and several of us, it seems to be a new item that is a benefit to many students, but it isn't clearly noted on the documents. So not to add more, Ms. Banks, but I do think that needs to be spelled out. And then if a student is signing over and above to do that, maybe that board members could be its own separate enrollment, if you will, to be over and above. The hours of operation would be easy to add in. I know on the refund calculation, the refund is there, but it is not mathematically broken down. That has been a request. Backup policy is not there. Was there anything else big that I missed noting?
Roxana, just on your last piece there, with the apprentice thing with the feds, I think for us to be proper in our business, I think she would need to go ahead and craft some request to the board to approve her to do that extra percentage of hours, even though it's not required. I think we still have to have that for us, and she'd have to just present some kind of justification for wanting that and what the benefits and adjustments would be. Perhaps for that, at our next meeting, she might be able to present that piece to us just so we can clear up all the paperwork. And Roxanna, before I'm not going to make a recommendation here, but before I move off of this one, I guess I want to say to our members, we're getting lots and lots and lots of applications and represents and so forth. The information is out there. The business owner, I think, needs to be engaged and proactive enough to do all their own research and whatnot. It seems like they're coming to the board with things that may be crafted, not necessarily hastily, but with not the greatest research involved. And it looks like they're kind of dependent on the board to sort out their issues and tell them what to do. I really don't think that's our role. I think that, again, it takes up the office time for the staff, and it's maybe interjecting us into some areas that we don't necessarily need to be walking into. As a school owner, I expected for myself to present a package to the board all those years ago that met the board's requirements. And if it didn't, I had no expectation that, well, they'll go ahead and pass me along and I'll just finish. I'll change something and maybe send it in, or I don't know how well they do at getting that stuff to you, Roxanna. But, and then even like this little discussion we've just had, where's the clarity in that we're understanding what they're trying to do, that they know what is permissible and what's not. And I just think we need to be careful in a lot of areas here. That certainly I'm all for, if it's a small error or something that can easily be rectified, of letting one or two things be looked at by Roxanne and her staff. But some of these things really break down into, and I hate to be so nitpicky, but there's specific language that the regulations require. If it's not there, it's not there. And a lot of times you look at something and you think it is, you think it looks right, but particularly with the money issue on that declaration of understanding and receipt, it occurred to me as I'm going through these things that most of the, if not all that we've got today, don't have that in there. And it is a requirement. It's a little thing, but to a student who is going to be on the hook for sometimes tens of thousands, 20s of thousands of dollars, it can be a big thing. And I'm just putting that out there. So I'll get off my soapbox. Do we have a recommendation or a motion here?
I'm going to make a motion for her to reappear and have all of her documents in order, only because mostly the hidden costs are not explained to the students, and they need to know what they're signing in for. And the government extra hours and stuff needs to be clearly stated to us and how she accumulates those.
I would second that motion. It's, we're going into so many hybrid areas that this really needs to be cleared up. That, we have a specific jurisdiction, and this is cosmetology law, and we don't write all the rules and laws. They're dictated, by legislatures. So, we need to kind of stay in our lane and get everybody to shore up and do right. Because, I'm here for all the people that do right, like
we're here for the safety of the students and covering them.
And there's just no gray area, and it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple to go to the website and present material that's given to you to open up an enterprise. So I would second that motion.
Any other discussion? The last thing I'd like to say is that was my personal opinion on that matter. Okay.
And I'd like to add to that. Soapbox was very fair. I think it was articulated well, and I think it kind of brings things back to focus.
So we have a motion and a second. Is no other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman Gillihan. We will move on. The next school appearing before you starts on your iPads on page 84. This is Blossom Nail Academy. It's a new specialty manicure school. Miss B. Nguyen is participating telephonically. This school is located in Memphis. This school was presented to the board at the December meeting, and the members found several items that needed to be corrected. The revisions were made timely. I will turn that over to Mr. Chairman Gillihan. Ms. Nguyen, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Thank you for, I'll let you mute yourself until Mr. Gillihan can see if he's got any questions for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Roxanne, what page on the iPad?
87 starts the floor plan. The application starts on page 84.
Thank you for being with us online today.
And I believe on the last presentation, I mentioned something about the online hours, so that is something that the board had a little bit of concerns as well, but otherwise I think you have everything in front of you.
I only had a couple of small notes on this one. On page 88 of our document, at the bottom of the page, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding this. I do see the length of the program and the hours and so forth. I see your schedules. You have the graduation date, start date, total hours per week, and the total number of weeks. That's great. At the bottom, you have a notation about attending part-time, and then you list the schedule, I presume, is going to be the individual schedule for the student for the part-timer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you can craft that daily schedule according to the needs. Okay.
Yes.
My question for you is, do you have the same language for a full-time? It appears from exactly what I'm reading here that particular schedule is only applying to part-time. That could be one of those typographical things that you may have the selection of full-time or part-time, or you can add that full statement somewhere else in this. Do you see that?
The schedule full-time or part-time on the enrollment agreement?
You have, if attending part-time, you commit to the following schedule. It might be helpful if you had a second box for full-time on that as well, so that because the full-time student would need to know the same information.
The two lines directly above that.
Daytime program, but it's what days they're attending, and it seems like if they're attending full-time, that would be 5 days a week. If that seems clear, that's great.
That's clear.
It was just something I noticed.
I think she's going to change 3:30 p.m. I think it was a typo instead of a.m. Oh, she may be going.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. yeah, I see it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, typo.
On page 100, let's see here.
That's in your course outline, Ms. Nguyen, page 2.
Page 2.
Course outline. Course outline. Okay. Page 2.
What I'm seeing there is 300 hours curriculum. I don't see a corresponding. I'm assuming that's going to be with like an apprentice, just for the way I'm looking at this.
Right.
Yes, this is apprenticeship school. Yes.
But I see the 300-hour curriculum. What I'm looking at, I'm going to presume, is going to be the in-house stuff. But you would need a similar column identifying what was done outside the shop. That one looks like it could easily be a typographical thing. Just copy and paste that over. So the student realizes there's not just 300 hours in that program. That seems unclear.
The following page has the
does
600,
have
but
it.
you're right. Yes, the
Okay.
A student
Page
might
2 does
easily
not.
get confused on that.
Okay. In school, out school. Okay, I can just copy paste it and just put in school and out school, right? In
Yeah, that's
class and
again.
okay.
I only saw one or two things on this one, and I think it's simple enough that you do have other documentation that spells that out. But on this particular page, it looks like it was just missing there. I did not see a policy for keeping your part-time and full-time files separate in the documentation that's a catalog or anywhere, and I did not see anything regarding your backup timekeeping for the students' hours. And
Backup timekeeping.
those,
Is that the one with the clock hour and sign-in sheet?
I'm sorry?
Is that the one with the clock in and the sign-in sheet?
Do
that
you
talking
have both
about
of those in
attendance?
there? Can you tell me where to
Yeah.
find that?
Okay, let me see. Attendance. The student catalog on page 7. Wait, no. Yeah, right. Student attendance hour must be computed once a week based on the student clock in and clock out. And then student would be, let's say student. Yeah, we have a time in, time out, and then we have a sign-in sheet. Well, yeah, that was home. Yeah, page 7. Page 7. Page 7 of this is catalog, right? Yeah. Go to sign-in. Yeah. And the student sign-in sheet, right?
she's referencing page 111.
I see both of those in there. Thank you. I couldn't see that.
Miss Nguyen, could you mute your phone, please?
Oh, yes, mute. Oh.
Please. It's very loud. Thank you.
So that really just gets us down to basically one missing policy, so to speak, and one copy and paste type of correction. Does the members have any other questions on this one? My recommendation would be to have this school make those two corrections, and when they're made, to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Make a second.
We have a motion, a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Who did the second motion? I apologize. I wasn't. Look, thank you, Monica. I couldn't hear you. Thank you very much. Ms. Nguyen, congratulations. The board motioned unanimously to approve you. You've got some minor items that were discussed to clean up that you'll need to send me before we can coordinate an inspection.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Board members. Yeah, we had to take a minute to enjoy that. Next on your iPads, we're starting on page 126. This is Sheer Perfection Academy. Change of location. Ms. Helen Tahiri is participating telephonically. Ms. Helen, are you on the call with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, thank you. This school is located in
morning.
Nashville. Good morning. The application floor plan were received timely. If the school is not changing anything other than the floor layout, no other documents are presented at the time. I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillahan.
Simply a change of location. I always like to ask the question, how far are you going to be moving? Is that going to be an inconvenience to your students?
Well, actually, this is we're going to be in the same plaza as we are right now. We're just adding more clinic floor for our students for the aesthetics program.
The normal procedure on this is to send an inspector. Do we need to send a state board member?
What we've done, if the school is in good standing, whether it's a second campus or a change in location, we've not sent a board member, if that's okay.
Motion to approve the move.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, Ms. Helani.
Thank you so much.
Board members, next on your iPads, you're on page 133. This is Pinpoint Barbering Academy. It's a new barber school. Ms. Helani Harris is participating telephonically. Ms. Harris, are you on the call with us? Ms. Harris? I will proceed and let the board members go through the items. This school is 3,340 square feet. It is located in Memphis. The new school application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, and contingency plan were received timely. Chairman Gillahan, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Ms. Harris was not on the line.
I don't believe so. She's received the link. I believe the agenda, of course, as the board members know, that it is posted online for everyone.
In the floor plan, it was. I see that they've got some space allotted for various things, but I don't see any layouts of how the equipment is going to fit in the room. What's going to actually be in there. I see this frequently now that we're not getting good floor plans and layouts. I think we need to be working on that a little bit. See, again, in no particular order. Have I have a note that I did not find where they're providing to the student the published materials about the actual requirements of the licenses that they're going to be working on. So they're not necessarily telling the student specifically some of those items. You would think that they're telling everybody it's a 1,500-hour course for a Master Barber program, but they have I apologize. I located that. Excuse me. Page 146 on our reports, I'm seeing that they have their schedule suggested as 9 to 5 hours. And then in other places, their schedules are referring to classes from 8 to 6. I'm not sure about the inconsistency there and how the student is being notified of those.
It doesn't list the days on, does it either?
It doesn't list the days.
Is that Monday through 7 days?
They've got several issues with their scheduling here. On There's conflicting information on page 148 regarding the amount of time in the curriculum, and that's going to be one of those similar to what we just did. No backup method for logging the hours, the backup timekeeping system I keep referring to. On page 2 of their document 138 for us, if you would take a look at that, they have some payment plans listed out here at the bottom. They refer specifically to Pell Grants programs and the William Ford Federal Direct Loan programs. Please see the award letter. This school is not accredited at this time. Is that correct, Roxana?
That is correct.
Okay. What they're indicating to the student, and you see that they have 3 payment plans specifically spelled out there. They're indicating to the student that if they select that particular option, that that's going to be their method of payment. I see that they have a statement there about not participating. However, that I think is quite misleading to a student. For one, it suggests to the student that the school is authorized to offer those programs. A non-accredited school is not authorized to do that. I did not find throughout the documents here anywhere something that wouldn't relate specifically to us, but I know that whenever they have those programs, they also have to have authorization from the Tennessee Higher Education Commission to be able to participate in those programs, and specifically it's required at that level that it's in their documentation. Again, this one is not at that level yet, but it becomes much, much more misleading to me. On page 145 of our document, I'm sorry, page 143, I apologize. Page 143, there's an information sheet here that has just blatantly false, incorrect information. If this school is presenting itself as having these completion rates for this particular years, first of all, they weren't a school, unless I'm missing something. So they've got some misinformation in here, and coupled with the previous thing, I can only assume that they're trying to look like they're an accredited school.
It states the placement rate at 100%, but 19 out of 24 graduates found jobs, but the placement is 100%. So even there, I don't understand how they've got completion, placement, and licensure rates if this is a new school. Mm-hmm. Is there a branch? Is this a branch campus of another school?
No, it is not.
I believe I found in this one also that there are other costs, perhaps. Check my notes before I make that statement. I think they have additional charges for late payments, transcript fees, overtime fees, and so forth. I'm sorry, late payments and transcript fees that are not included in that part of the enrollment agreement where they're supposed to be. Their kit on page 138, they're stating that they're going to give the student a kit at 200 hours. The state requirement is 100 hours. They have their toolkits. Okay.
There was a question for me about the kit. In the original contract agreement, it has it at the cost as NA. And I'm okay if they're going to give their students a kit, but I just wanted to make sure that that was true, that if they are charging for the kit, that there is a number in that box.
Price for it, like
included in tuition, or I don't know, but somehow they should know what their kit costs. Either it's free of charge or I don't know. To me, NA makes it sound like they're not going to get a kit.
And as the others that I mentioned today, I have not found anything in here that refers to the receipt of these documents prior to the money being paid. Okay. Folks, those were my short notes on this particular one. If you saw anything else, I have to say I'm concerned anytime I see a school that is presenting itself as being accredited in any way.
It's a beast for us to get accredited. It takes a while. I'm going to make a motion again to deny because of the hidden cost for the students. It needs to be stated clearly to the students so they know what they're signing up for.
We have a motion to deny.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you, board members.
I hope these new schools will watch what we're doing today and get it, make sure the students are taken care of.
I don't know that we'll go down that soap opera box, but when a school first reaches out to apply, my first requirement is that they go to the laws and rules and read them from beginning to end. I can usually tell by the second conversation if they've even looked at parts of it. But then we go back and forth repeatedly with the documents, and at some point, if the minimum is there, you're getting that application. But I do understand where you're coming from.
Checked out some of their sites and things on the web, and there aren't even no one really represents this application. From what I can tell, they don't exist. So I have a question, and I am not an instructor, licensed instructor, and I wasn't really clear on this. How many schools can a licensed instructor have their license listed with? As many as they can work for?
I know of several instructors who work at part-time schedules at different schools and sometimes as a substitute in other schools. As long as they take their license with them or have a duplicate.
Now, it's very common in Memphis for me to see the same instructors that I'm thinking, boy, they're working hard.
I'd be curious to see if they're listed as the person monitoring the students at the same time at two different schools.
Well, that's
and there's no requirement that says you can't. So to that point, the monthly hours report needs to list the instructors, but it doesn't tell us Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday they're here and went right. So mathematically, you'd be working hard, but I don't know that we would catch something like that unless we go to inspect and they're not there and no one's there.
It looks like a good finesse to me.
Yeah.
I will add this myself. Occasionally I'll get a phone call and someone will ask me to come to their school and do a class for the day or something. In fact, I believe a school in Knoxville.
I was just curious. It was been on my mind for a minute.
That's okay.
Two schools.
Yes.
I haven't one and one.
And I should have never done it because then everybody wanted him to come back every day, and then they felt like our work went to crap in a handbasket because Ron wasn't there no more. No more for you, Ron.
Because I came.
Rox,
okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir, of course.
It seems a bit rudimentary, but I know all the information is on the site, right? To make it somewhat simpler for the applicant, is there or could there be just a checklist
So there is.
There is.
And when you go to the board's website under Cosmetology Board Tennessee or tn.gov and you get to the regulatory boards, under the licensee/applicant resources on the left-hand side, when you open that, you'll see forms and downloads and a lot of stuff. There's a sentence that says, how do I apply for a shop or school? If you click on that, the shops options open because each shop has its unique requirements. And then under schools, what we've done, and sometimes our attorneys don't love that we simplify the statute, and I understand that, but we have no choice because our school owners, even though they're pointed to it, I know aren't reading it. There are steps there of everything that's needed. And so the items are listed there, but I don't copy and paste the statute to put it there because then it would be the statute. So all the steps are there, the floor plan, the student enrollment must have, and we list days of operation, harassment policy, all those items. So they're there as a quick checklist item. Yes.
A lot of people do it right. I mean, not everybody. I mean, a lot of people. So,
I said more don't.
Yeah. Well, as we approve schools, we have to make sure that we keep that level. We can't just let people.
The reason why I ask is not
dilute
just
it.
for the applicant, but I mean, to Ron's point earlier, it just swallows up a lot of resource and time. And for whether some do it right or not, I'm just thinking, is there a way for us to rectify some of the issues or challenges on our end? You know, no different in management. If you got a lot of staff keep doing the right thing, that's fine. But if you got a lot that are doing the wrong thing, maybe the policy or procedure needs to be adjusted, hopefully for a different result. So that's kind of my reasoning for asking.
Frank, I think we'd all agree that there's not a person on this board that enjoys saying no to a school, because we all understand that it's their livelihoods and they have careers and people, and they have this passion. They want to do this thing and do it right. But unfortunately, if they get started up incorrectly, the student is usually the one that pays the price in the end. And we see the results of that, whether it's complaints about schools or issues with schools or students who don't learn the rules themselves and get in trouble once they leave. So it's a snowball kind of effect, I believe. But it breaks my heart to say that, you know, I don't think this school is ready yet. And again, that's just my individual opinion. We've all, that's why we're all here individually. We all have our own thoughts and processes, and they're all right. They're all valid. But I usually will come back to the idea of these are the things that the rules or statutes call out. Are they there or not? And then many times, as Roxana does, you know, her recommendation is just go forward or don't. You know, she's very, very good about. But it gives me no pleasure, and I'm sure it gives you no pleasure to have to say no. But we owe it to the schools and the citizens, the students, the public, to do this right. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing. So please don't take the things I say as anything more than anybody else. It's just one person's opinion. Okay. We have a busy agenda here. I'm sorry to get on those boxes again. I won't do it again, I promise.
And thank you for your time, because as you all notice, Chairman Gillihan really goes through these to be able to move us along. So I appreciate that immensely. Okay, on your iPads, we're on page 155. This is a new barber school. It's Memphis Barber College. And this school on your iPads is listed as Investments Incorporated. We will change the name of it. The name of the school is Memphis Barber College. Mr. Emery Hammonds, I've tried to keep up with my emails a little bit while the meeting's going on. Mr. Hammonds, are you on the call, sir? Okay, he's able to watch us live, and as the board members know, through the website, you have a watch button to stream live, but there's also a join or connect button. And so the meeting, those that are participating, and so far it's been almost every one of our schools, they're doing so through Teams. In case you have students that want to participate, it is a connect button, but your computer has to have Teams available. And so our school owners are always pointed to it. There you are. Mr. Hammond?
Yeah, Emery Hammonds. Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm thrilled you're on. Good. So go ahead and mute yourself. They've got your application in front of us. This is a school that is located in the Memphis area. It's 4,000 square feet. The application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, and contingency plan were received timely. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you, and Mr. Hammond's joining us to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond, for being here today. I appreciate you being online and waiting this morning. I know we're getting a little bit long here. Had a few notes on yours. The first thing I noticed was in your contract, I did not see a specific start date, end date, hours, weeks, and student schedules listed. In your on page 161, this is one of those scenarios where we had the additional hours in the program. When you do the math based on their schedule that's presented, they don't equal 1,500 hours. I think his are 1,520. On page 162, where he's outlining his costs, he has additional costs throughout his program that are not listed there. I think you have a typo, Mr. Hammond. I don't have my page number. It could be on that same 162. No, I don't see it there. You have on page 163, you're talking about a replacement service. I think that's probably just typographical error on that one. I did not find any special conditions for graduation. Did you? Can you point me to where you have your requirements for graduation listed?
Well, it's going to be 1,500 hours. I'm trying to see what page would it be on my contract you referencing.
Okay, well,
or the catalog.
Mr. Gambuza just pointed it out.
Okay.
I see your graduation requirements. Were there any additional things that you have? You simply say they complete the hours and have a certain grade percentage. Do they have to, additional requirements would be?
That's pretty much it.
If they had to be paid in full,
no special
things
requirements.
like that.
Exactly, right.
Okay. Well, I didn't see anything like that in there, so that's something that might need to be added if you have any. You don't have to have any, but if you do, that needs to be.
No, I don't have any special requirements for graduation.
Okay.
Other than the state 1,500 hours and passing.
Perfect. I did not find your sanitary code requirements in there. Any statements about that?
No, it does say that both the school and the student would be, if you're referencing keeping the school, sanitary, clean. Can
you tell me where that is?
Let's see here. Give me a second. Okay, it's probably going to be. Let's see. I know it's in here somewhere.
While you're looking for that one, I'm going to go ahead and move on to another one. In your enrollment agreement, I did not see any statement where you're requiring a student to be at least 16 years of age and a 10th grade education. The state no longer obviously requires diplomas, but that 10th grade education is still in that. So I don't see that in your documents anywhere.
On page 168.
In the catalog, page 4 of 16, yeah. But not on his, I didn't see it on the enrollment agreement either.
Okay.
In your instructor program, I did not see any policy or statement that you're notifying the instructor student that they have to have at least 3 years licensure before they can enroll for that. And I believe,
Yeah, this says 3 years. Okay.
and I believe
It says
that
3
the
years country.
curriculum is
Go ahead. I'm
incorrect
sorry.
on the instructor program. That does not match the state, I don't believe.
Where are you on the curriculum?
I think it's on page 170, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay, I found that. Thank you so much, Becky. Well, we got that one taken care of.
Okay.
In your curriculum under the Barber instructor program, you're requiring 100 hours of shampooing, permanent waving, nail care. That is absolutely not part of the instructor program.
Okay, I might have gotten that on the wrong site, and I thought I got that directly from the requirements you have online. Somewhere I saw that. And so I called myself putting it directly as you would have it, but I guess I got that wrong. Because it requires 300 hours, and I thought it was interesting that it's 300 hours broken down into 3 different sets of 100s. But I can't recall where I saw that, but I think I got that right off your website. But I know there have been some changes, and maybe, I go back, I can correct it. I know it used to be 450 and then 300, and so I can correct that.
Do you only have the one schedule, the full-time schedule? Or do you also
Yes, all for full-time, yes.
No part-time?
No part-time. If I do part-time, I'll be sure to keep the files separate. If I do decide, whenever I do decide to go with part-time.
You do plan to do part-time?
Whenever I decide, I will make sure I contact you all, and I know you need to keep the files separate. But I want to do, to tell you a little bit about my school. I want to have people who are really serious about barbering and want to bring the professional aspect back to it. I've been in the business as an owner for a long time, and I've just seen, I'm just bothered about a lot of cursing and unprofessional, things I see, the pants pulled down, and just a lot of. And I know the brick and mortar, I've been inside the malls, so the brick and mortar thing has kind of changed a lot. There's been a lot of decline, and so I just want to bring the professional back. And we have a good location where they'll be able to cut, do live haircuts as well and get a lot of experience on that. So, and that's why I just kind of have it simple where I want people who are really serious, who's going to go full-time. And once I get that engine going, then I can decide to later on have part-time students and go from there.
Okay, and then we have a conflict between your catalog and your enrollment agreement. In one place you say that the program of Master Barber is 30 hours for 1,500, 30 hours a week for 1,500 hours. And then you have 38 weeks completion time at 40 hours per week. So we've got a few.
Well, that might, that's going to be on the. Well, I'm thinking that. Now I know the minimum. Our minimum is 30 hours at a school, but I know the state. With the state, for full time is 25. But I think maybe I have it confused. But this is going to the 30 hours. I think you referencing the student 1,500 hours compared to the instructor 300 hours. In other words, an instructor would come the same 30 hours as well, and complete that 300. But I don't see exactly what page number you looking at from my.
Okay, on the bottom of page, let's see, you're page 1 of 4 on your enrollment agreement.
Okay.
38 weeks completion time at 40 hours, which would be correct. Then you have 50 weeks completion at 30 hours, which again is correct.
And you go, what page? You said bottom of page, what number?
Bottom of your page number 1 on your enrollment agreement.
Okay.
Okay. But above that, that's the very bottom 2 lines. Above that, though, you're indicating that all students are full-time and they're scheduled to attend 30 hours a week, minimum 30 hours a week. Okay, so
Right.
Are you saying that they could have you could have some students attending 30 hours and some students attending 40?
Exactly. That's all that is. A minimum of 30 hours, and they can divide those. They can use those 30 hours however they decide. You know, some people may need to take Thursdays off, or decide to take Monday off, or whatever the case may be. But this is pretty much saying that students and instructor students will also put in 30 hours a week. I have someone who's serious about going to school, and of course, as an instructor student, you're only doing 300 hours, but you're doing the 300 hours at 30 hours a week. And then the ones doing the 1,500 hours, as you see above, in bold writing, Barber 1,500 hours to complete, Barber instructor 300 hours to complete. Both sets of students would do a minimum of 30 hours a week. If someone wanted to do 40, that's fine. I know the state, you can do 48 hours now if you choose. But the minimum we asking is 30 hours a week.
Okay, Mr. Hammond, I'm going to interrupt you there if you don't mind. The only question I have here is this: it gets a bit confusing and it gets a little bit unclear because, and I hear what you're saying and I do understand what you're saying, and that's perfectly fine to have that program. But in your catalog, in your further information, you only refer to full time at 30 hours. Okay, so.
Okay, what page number on the catalog?
Look at clarifying those two so that students understand that there are different schedules.
Okay.
So
I wonder what page number are you looking on the catalog so I can correct that.
I've already moved on. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can go back.
Oh, okay.
Page 10.
Page 10. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, folks, those are the items that I had found.
Now, question: when you go to page 10, if you're looking at page 10 on the catalog, they do say full-time instructor students.
I'm not only looking at the instructor. I'm looking at both. Okay.
Okay.
So. To recap, we had a few issues with this one. You heard what they all are. I won't go back through that again.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Do we have any other questions?
I'd like for you to go back and visit your dress code and make that a little more clear. You say blue smokes. I'm not sure that everybody's going to know what that is. And additional dress attire will be required at a date to be determined. I think that you need to clear up what their dress code is.
Okay, okay, I will. I just put that in just in case we decide to change from blue smocks to some other type of uniform. I just wanted to have an opening to, if we want to change uniforms without violating the contract that says blue smock. That's what I call myself doing. But I can correct that.
Have any other questions? Have any recommendations? Or a motion, excuse me. Do I have a motion?
What would be
I would like to know if I could.
Go ahead, Ms. Judy.
what would the board up and come back?
I would like to think I can make the changes and submit it to Ms. Roxana. That's possible. Because I can definitely make these changes before today is out, and have them sent to Miss Roxana. I can email to Miss Roxana tomorrow.
Quickly for you, I'll go through just the highlight reel. No start date was effective in there. The hours and the weeks in the student schedule and not in the enrollment agreement as they should, in the way they should be, and they were incomplete. The student hours, the weeks versus the weekly hours, he had some in there that were adding up to 1,520 hours. Previous school.
Excuse me, can I?
Excuse me. Let me finish. We had other costs included in different parts of the catalogs that were not included in the enrollment agreement. Sanitary code. Did we find that one? I did not find a sanitary code. And then we have the conflict with the program hours, crossing over a little bit. I think he kind of explained that would be an easy one to repair. But and the entire instructor curriculum was incorrect. So.
And also, I'd like to see a breakdown of the refund calculation for the students.
But basically, my refund calculation is really you get refunded for the you get a refund up to 50% of the course. After 50% of the course, there's no refund. But it's based on the tuition earned by the school before you get to 50%, up to 50%.
Yes, sir. But
without having to be offended. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you break it down in like to so many hours, up to 10%, and then 20%, and 30, and 40, and then 50 is no refunds. Break it down where they can understand what they would be getting if they decided they were going to quit at like 300 hours.
So right. What I did, okay, I can do that, but it really says that the up to before you get to 50%, instead of doing these different percentages, it's really a better thing for the student because they're going to get, if they stop at 200 hours, a 20% pass, or 40%, you're still going to get the same percentage back up to 50%. Once you get to 50, once you pass 50%, there's no refund. So I thought that was probably better for the student to be able to get the same percentage of refund up to 50% instead of taking from them at 20 and 30 and 40, where the refund gets less. I want to be fair to the students and give them the refund if they happen to drop out early. But I can definitely make that change if that's something you would like to see.
Makes it easier for them to understand.
Okay.
Ms. Hammond, I've got one last question on this for you since we're talking about the refunds again. I don't find your statement in your program here that you indicate that all refunds will be issued by 45 days. That's a requirement.
Unless I made a mistake and delete that out, but I think I can find it here somewhere. But I definitely saw that in the okay, I see it's not in the catalog.
You're required to have a policy that says any refunds due would be issued within 45 days.
I can't believe I made a mistake and I took that out. Yeah. I didn't copy and paste every page like I was supposed to. I have it on a different page, but I didn't copy it to this. So that's a quick fix. I can fix that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Folks, we've heard all this information about this school. Is there any other discussion with the members? Do we have a motion?
Make the motion to deny.
Second.
These things need to be corrected and represented.
We have a motion to deny, and we have a second. Who was my second?
Was that Ms. Janey? Who was the second?
Ms. Janey.
Ms. Janey.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Board members, we will move on. Before we do anything else, I just wanted to mention the rulemaking hearing. Mr. Hammonds, I'll let you go. If you have any questions, the recording will be posted by the end of today or tomorrow, so you can go through the notes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, one last quick question. Are you able to have a list where you can possibly email me the different changes you would like that we discussed today?
You'll be able to listen
you have
to
no-
you'll be able to listen to the
I
meeting and get them from there, and
Exactly.
then I can go through my list later with you as well. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're right. Thank you all so much. Y'all have a blessed
Thank
day.
you, sir. Good luck. I just want to make
Thank you.
sure,
Bye.
given that it's 11 o'clock, anyone participating remotely, if anyone is participating and ready for the rulemaking hearing to start, could you let me know? We're going to go ahead, if it's okay with the board, and continue with the schools and those appearing before us. Try to get all of our board business and then do the rulemaking hearing that's been properly noticed. Thank you. Our next school is CDRC Academy of Beauty. This is on page 181 on your iPads. Ms. Charlene Purnell is participating remotely. Ms. Purnell, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for your patience as we move through these. This school is 3,279 square feet. It is located in Clarksville. The new application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, and contingency plan were received timely. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me find my appropriate notes here. Who do we have online?
Ms. Charlene Purnell, our school owner.
Thank you. Just a moment.
And this is a full cosmetology school. I apologize. I don't know if I said that.
Roxanne, this is a new school. This is not a additional program.
That is correct, and this is the first time she's presenting her information to us.
Okay, on this particular program, actually this one was looking pretty good through most of it. I only found a couple of items that didn't quite line up. On page 205, this is a program that's saying they're kits will be delivered after 200 hours. Is that not 100 hours, or is it 200 in the, it's 2 in the, okay. I thought that was going to be correct.
I would think that we needed this to be reworded just a little bit, but to not say after 200 hours, but at the point that we reach 200 hours. So on your page 10, if you could just take out the after 200, we don't want it to be given to them after 200, but by the time they have reached 200 hours, then they should have a kit.
Yes, ma'am.
And it'll be the same for aesthetics and manicuring instead of it saying after those hours.
I want to tell you, I appreciate the way you broke down the crossover program.
Right.
It's nice to see that done well. Ms. Burnell, in your enrollment agreement, I have to kind of pick on this one again because every school I've seen today has not had it. Could you direct me to your statement in your enrollment agreement that says the student will receive their copies of this prior to paying you money? That is something I could not find.
Yes. Second.
We have the great statement that they've received their copies, but
Admission.
Okay. Okay. I'll have to add that. I'll add that in here before monies. It's just a little sentence. I'll add that right in that statement now. I'm good. I had that in there. Okay. I will add that. My apologies.
I see that you do have your backup systems for your timekeeping. That's great. In case I have overlooked it as I'm scanning through here, and this was, you have quite a large file. Can you tell me what the last page of your enrollment agreement is? What's the last page number?
The last page of the enrollment agreement is page, I think it's 10. 9. Page 9 is the last page.
It
And that's
ends
with
the sanitary
acknowledgement.
requirement.
Sanitation, yes.
So your standards and conduct and all that, that's part of your catalog. Is that what I'm seeing?
Correct.
Okay. Members, I want to just tell you that when I went through this, I really didn't see anything that stuck out in my mind except the one or two items that I have identified. One exception. Can you tell me what page your actual curriculum is on for your cosmetology?
Cosmetology is on page, and I'm looking at what you have. So
am I looking at page 23? That's graduation services. Okay, I found it.
Up a little bit. It is on page 20. Page 20.
I did find it. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments or anything else someone has seen?
It's nice to have a great presentation, and I make a motion to approve with the changes that we've mentioned.
Okay, that was.
Yes, it is. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too. Congratulations. Board members, the next on your iPads starts on page 236. This is Crown School of Trades and Technology. This is a change in location. Ms. Kelly Carter. Ms. Carter, are you on the call?
Roxana,
I am.
All right. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. Before we proceed, we need to take about a 5-minute break.
Sounds wonderful. We are going to take, Ms. Carter, we're going to stop right at yours, but we're only taking a 5-minute break, so we will be back shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are back to live, and I think we've got everyone here. Chairman Gilhan, I'll turn it back over to you. We know we've got Ms. Carter on the call.
Okay. And this is Crown School?
Yes, this is a change in location only. You have before you their application and floor plan, and in this school's case, we went over it, and they did not have any other documents that were changing.
Members, we've heard that report. Do you have any questions about this change of location? My standard is how far are you moving, and is it going to be a great inconvenience to your students?
No, we're only moving about 10 feet across the hallway. And
That might be inconvenient.
and we're providing even better situation for the students to get to the classroom. So,
okay.
What is the floor space in this new area?
I think it was 30, at least 3,600 square feet added.
Right.
Probably a little bit more.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. We will move
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you. Next, we have Impress Beauty Academy. Board members, that starts on page 239 on your iPads. This is a new specialty manicure school. Ms. Rhonda Jackson. Ms. Jackson, are you there?
Okay.
We'll make sure. Thank you, board members. This school is located in Nashville. The new application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, floor plan, catalog, and contingency plan were received timely. I will turn it over to you. And we've got two school owners that are here. They ended up being the last on our list, just the way things worked out. So thank you.
Thank you for being here again. We appreciate you coming down and taking that time. I made a couple of notes as I went through your file, Ms. Carter. And this is an instructor specialty school?
Manicure.
Oh, manicure. I'm sorry.
Yes, and I explained as
Okay,
as
I
the
see.
application was filled out, instructor was selected first, but right below it says manicure. So it's really a manicure
Just
school
manicure.
with the option, of course, to still be able to teach the 300 hours to manicure instructors.
On your documentation, our reports, members, on page 246, your page 2, Ms. Carter. I'm sorry, I apologize. Jackson, I apologize.
And is it page 2 of the enrollment agreement or the catalog?
This is page 2 of the enrollment agreement. It appears, that being your signature page and accepted by the school, it appears that that's the last page of your enrollment agreement. Is that the case? Okay. I noted you have more pages that to me
Yes,
appeared.
so that would be copied and pasted to
Yeah,
the last page.
that's simply a
which is
page number
6.
and,
Yes.
and swap that out. So,
Okay.
Okay. Again, in your file, the statement regarding receipt of their agreements and paperwork prior to paying money to you, that is missing. I did not find your sanitation code as I looked. If you have that or know where it is, I'll be happy to look at it again.
So is this not where we just said I would need to copy and paste it on page 6?
Well,
Is that not what you're looking for?
Right. What would be the final page of that enrollment agreement when you make that one correction?
No, you just asked about them receiving an exact copy of this agreement. It's in that paragraph right there.
No, you certainly have that part of it, but what's missing is the statement that prior to the student paying you money, they've received that. It's only about 3 words or 3 or 4 words there. And that's not unique to you. I've seen that on every presentation today, I believe. Again, did you have your sanitation code listed?
No, I thought it would be in the general, but I don't see that.
You do have your discrimination policy, and that's great. So those two actually are pretty close together in those requirements. If you look at it on that list, you'll see they're probably close together. On page 263 for our members, and I'll try to give you the page number.
Page 10, I think, of our catalog. Does that
End
sound
of the
right?
catalog, okay. My note is a statement about a high school diploma, and I'm looking to see what that is. Okay. You're requiring, it's at the top of the page, just above your non-discrimination policy, in order for the manicure student to register with the state licensing board, they must present proof of age, ID, and a high school diploma or GED. That's not required. So that's an easy strikeout, but that note needs to come out of there to be in compliance. Can you tell me about your backup time system? How are you planning on keeping time with your students?
With smart systems.
Okay.
So
You're clocking in on smart. Okay. So what is your backup for that?
The written time sheet.
Okay. You got a written time sheet.
I believe it. to submit that too for.
Did I notice in your application that you had a reference to the VA benefits? I have a note, but I don't have my page marked.
I believe that's in the on the very last 2 pages, so page 27, when it's referring to like the transfer hours and everything like that.
They transfer veterans sections. Are you authorized to receive veterans benefits?
Not at the moment. They wanted to see everything with.
So you've applied to the VA.
Well, it's just been in conversation right now, so I shouldn't have put that in here.
As we've said earlier, when that's not a true financial aid scenario. That is a different type of program. But a reference to that makes a student feel like they may be able to access that benefit, and it might lead to bigger issues with the VA later. Okay. Not very difficult to delete something, so those were my notes on your program. Very minor, the sanitary code. You have the backup time system. That's great. 2 deletions out of there, and you're in pretty good shape as far as I can see. Does anybody else see something that I missed? Jackson, I believe we made reference to the instructor specialty. You wanted to keep that option in there, or is that something you're planning on doing now or not?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to keep the instructor portion of the program.
Okay. In that case, can you point me to your statement that says the instructor student is required to have 3 years licensure? Or page 12?
20.
Oh, 20, I'm sorry.
273 for us.
Perfect. Okay. So that eliminates one of those items. Okay. Any other questions or? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve with the corrections.
We have a motion to approve with those minor corrections. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Ms. Jackson, congratulations and good luck.
Jackson, if you'll send those updates to me, and then whenever you're ready to be inspected, just let me know. Congratulations.
And that would be a board member with that?
Yes, it would be both. The field, this is a new school, so both the field inspector and board member. Thank you. Thank you, board members. Next, you have, starting on page 283 on your iPads, this is Jewels and Gems Institute of Beauty. This is a new specialty manicure as well. Ms. Danica Johnson. I sure did. That's my notes. My bad. Thank you. Also get to the right page. That way I can make sure we've got what we need. You have Ms. Danica Johnson here before you. This school is located in Humboldt. The new application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, floor plan catalog, and contingency plan were received timely. I will turn it over to the board if you have any questions for Ms. Johnson.
This is impressed, correct?
No, this one is, this is Jules.
Oh, Jules, I
Gems
apologize. Excuse me.
Institute of Beauty. This is our, we have one more school application after this.
Okay.
And it is a specialty natural hair styling school.
You said in Humboldt, it's in my.
Thank you for coming down and waiting with us this morning. Appreciate it. Okay. On your enrollment agreement on page 1 of your enrollment agreement, you indicate your total hours of instruction are 150. Okay. And then the total apprentice hours are 150. Program length is 300. So that's just your breakdown of in-house and shop. Perfect.
And this is apprenticeship only, correct? Yes.
Okay, in your timeline on the same page, you're indicating that it's 20 hours a week for 15 weeks. However, when you look at your hours of operation, that's only, that is 4 hours. And that gives you 300, so we're good there. Do you have a termination fee that goes with your program? If somebody drops out, you charge them a cost?
Oh, okay. I was holding it down. Look on page 2 on the back. On page 2, like toward the center, it has all the termination agreement. Breakdown that you.
Okay, so it's just part of your refund calculation. You don't have an additional fee for that. Okay, that's what I was looking for. On page 5 of your document, 290 for the members. Once approved for salon apprenticeship hours due weekly not to exceed 140 hours. That doesn't meet the state requirement. If they're doing the apprenticeship, it's 150, or it's portions.
That's just a typo. We can get that. A typo. I can get that fixed and sent back to you ASAP.
As all the other programs today, you're missing that statement in your acknowledgement on page 5 that indicates that they've received their documentation prior to paying you money.
I realized earlier that I think we're part of that problem too. But they can get fixed and it will get.
Your contingent plan, it says that you have plans developed, but it doesn't really say what the plans are. In case of damage to the building, short-term procedures have been developed that can be implemented in the event that the building is destroyed. But it doesn't really say what those plans are, just that you have a plan. You might need to add a contingency plan that states what would happen, not just that you have a plan.
The schools that I have listed in the bottom, if anything happens, we plan to have them go to the school.
Page is that on?
On 297. So that would be in case of short-term or a long-term closure. Okay.
I did not find a policy regarding your time clock backups.
We'll be going through the Clover system and hard copies.
That's an electronic system. Do you save them on a thumb drive? Do you print them off and put them in their files?
Print it off and put it in files.
Okay. I didn't find anything to indicate you plan to keep your files separate from full-time and part-time.
We just have the apprentice school, so.
You have a full-time program and a part-time? Do you have full-time students and part-time students?
They will be part-time students.
You won't have any full-time students? No. Okay. I have a notation that indicates that we're only accounting for 180 hours in the curriculum. Can some of you other members take a look with me and help me sort this one out? I don't have a page number on that. It was in my notes, and I feel like it's going to be somewhere around page 290, 289, and 290. Add this up. You got 180? What I got. What is the
300 hours is the total, but at the school would only be 150, and then the remaining 150 would be under a license.
Yeah, and that's really kind of what I was getting to with the previous statement about being, I think you indicated 140 hours here. This is on page 290 for us, page 5 for you. The apprentice program is designed to be 50-50. So those numbers and that curriculum would have to change in order to match up.
Need it to be 300 and then split into this is what happens in the classroom and this is what happens in the apprentice areas.
Yes, ma'am.
Under page 5, at the very top, there's an additional 20, so that's 160. So I didn't know if that made a difference.
It appears in that red box, for those of you all looking on page 5, it says 160 hours in class, 140 of sanitation, and of hands-on apprentice in a salon. So it's broken unevenly there.
Chapter 18 is a hands-on lesson, and more than likely it will be carried out in the salon.
I think what Ms. Russell's referring to, the law for apprenticeship is very specific. It's 50-50. Everything's 50-50. So there's, yeah.
So you got it 160, 140, and we need it to be 150, 150.
We'll get that changed ASAP. 150, 150.
Looking at the curriculum, I'm seeing that item number 3, success planning, 20 hours. Is that in that particular curriculum, or am I really kind of looking at what the book chapters are here for this?
Looking at the book.
That would not correct curriculum.
So if you will look in the rules so that you can see the actual curriculum broken down, you can just copy and paste that to this. So where you've got your chapters for your textbook, I understand that you're trying to show what chapters they would be working in at that time, but we actually need it to say exactly what the rules say as far as how much time is spent.
Okay. I guess to summarize on this one from what I can see so far is we got about 3 small typo things that are easily taken care of. We're missing a policy. Probably need to have that policy that says you're going to keep full-time and part-time separate. It is a requirement in there. I realize you're not going to do full-time, but just that statement would still probably need to be there. We're going to balance those hours, and then you're going to need to resend that curriculum. So that one curriculum item appears to be the biggest lump sum of issues here. So with that one, what would be the pleasure of the board? Do we have a motion or other questions on this? Do we want to allow her to copy and paste the state curriculum and make that correction, or have her come back for a represent? That's kind of what we're looking at. I think these things that I'm seeing are fairly minor.
Could you repeat that question again?
We're discussing whether to allow you to make the kind of a copy and paste correction to this, because your documents are in pretty decent order, and versus having you come back and do it again. Okay.
We accept the motion
with the changes.
With the changes, and have them returned back to Roxanne.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries. Okay.
I apologize. I didn't catch a no. I was looking down. Thank you.
Roxanne, I did not cast my vote, and I will vote no as well. So the motion carries. Congratulations. You will need to make those corrections, and of course it was not a very big issue with that, so good luck.
Congratulations. Okay, board members, we are on page 298. This is the Institute of Beauty. It is a new specialty natural hair styling school. This is their second campus. Ms. Tamika Turner. Ms. Turner, are you there?
Yes, I am present, but Reba Sanford will be speaking on the behalf of this school. Thank you all for having us this morning.
Oh, no, thank you for your patience, ma'am. Thank you. This school, as I mentioned, is the second campus. They already have one in the area. This one is located in Jackson. The new school application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, floor plan catalog, and contingency plan have been received timely. They are using some of the similar documents as in their prior school that is already also running as a natural hairstyling school. I'll turn it over to the board.
Thank you, Roxana. I don't know if everybody else noticed this as much as it just stood out to me. The application on this school is verbatim the application that we just approved, verbatim. The language is, except for the names and those, I think a website that's listed, it appeared to me down to the same mistakes, the same wording, same language, even the same ink colors as the school that we just approved. Now,
Yes, sir, that is correct. Both of these were my former students, and so they came to us for assistance with opening their schools. So I'm very proud of these two young ladies.
thank you so much for saying that and for letting me know, because you know, I apologize for thinking the worst, but I never know. And we see some copy and pasting from time to time, but
Yeah.
I was concerned, and I don't know who does what, but I was concerned about that. So,
No, thank you so much for catching that. But they were both our former students. And they are both now they have gone through the program, and they are ready to start their own schools, and I'm super proud of them. And just thank you for catching that, because there are people who try to come in and steal, you know, the intellectual property, but we do appreciate you for catching it.
wonderful. You have made my day, because I was feeling some kind of way about that.
Turn around.
Yeah. So with that said, I believe that if the board is willing, we can adopt the same recommendations and changes for the corrections that we found in the previous. Would that be acceptable, or do we need to go through the entire document again?
Let's go forward.
Did you have any other questions from the board? I know, and you already know this, of course, we will post the video that you can hear all the different breakdowns, and for the most part, it was minor items, and in your case, I'm not sure that you only take part-time, you might take full-time as well. Just some of those clarities, is that okay with you if you listen to those and then present the updates to me?
Hello, this is Reba Sanford on the call, and as we've been on the call, I've made the updates. The school is only going to be part-time. We've made the updates and can email them over today, if that's okay.
Okay, I think I understood you. And yes, I'll be happy to connect with you if the board is okay with that.
We would need a motion to approve with those corrections.
I would make a motion to approve with those corrections.
Second the motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no.
No.
I would vote accordingly. So I'd vote aye. I'm sorry. Motion carries. Lost my mind for a moment.
Thank you. And congratulations, Ms. Turner. We'll be in touch for the updates.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. The next item we have here are two that are appearing before you. The first one on your iPads is a continuing education request. This is from Tennessee State University, the Avon campus. If you give me a moment. And board members, you have before you the request for TSU is to present our in-person as well as remote session. So that will be good to have both those options. This is August 7th and 8th, and you have the agenda. And Ms. Moten is here, and she's been very patient to hang with us as we've done our presentation. So I'll turn it over to you.
Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Would you like to tell us about your program today?
Well, I could, in so few words. I don't want to hold you guys here any longer, but we're excited to present our Barber and Cosmetology conference to our instructors. This will be a new year, something different with the value add of us having the ability to do this both in person as well as simulcasted virtually. We've already thought through a lot of the COVID safety measures and protocols that need to be available. But this year's seminar is around diversity, inclusion, and equity. And it's important to note a lot of it deals with just the diversity of our students, their learning, as well as skin and different things of that nature. And so I'm really excited to put forth this seminar. We are almost done filling out all that we need in terms of getting this work done.
Always enjoy being over there. I've missed it the last couple of years, and wow, glad to see everybody being able to come back.
Well, we are excited to do this. I will say that 2018, I got to meet Roxana and do this work, and hoping that 2022 will be bigger and better, you guys.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is a similar request. This is from Mr. Thomas James. His course is titled Understand, Educate, Uplift, and Strive for Perfection. Mr. James, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am. Are you guys able to hear me?
We hear you perfectly. Thank you for your patience.
Great.
Mr. James' information, of course, he's been presenting continuing education sessions for the last several years. He has four different dates: April 24th and 5th, June 26th and 27th. And that one is in person as well as remote in Knoxville. September 25th and 26th, in person and remote in Nashville, and November 6th and 7th. The one in November and April are virtual only. And you've got his one-page agenda there before you with his topics. Welcome any questions you may have. And I'll take advantage of reminding the board members that the printout is circulating for those of you that want to sign up. We try to make it to one, thank you, sir, to one session of each of our providers so that we can all take a look at what they have. Thank you.
Hello, Thomas. It's Mr. Ron. Hope you're doing well
Hey,
today.
Mr. Ron, how have you been?
Everything's wonderful. Folks, I have participated in his classes before and have watched him do many of these, and I think he does an excellent job. I think he gets great reviews whenever he presents.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Oh, I have one.
Oh, yes, you got a question? Go ahead.
Not until after you say aye, and then I'll.
I was gonna say, don't blow it, man.
We are in the middle of a vote, so we'll go ahead. All in favor say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Congratulations. You can have your class. What's your question?
Yes, sir. Just real quick. One, I did want to say thanks to you guys for, I know, Mr. Ron, you were talking earlier about, how the board is not, necessarily the ones that have to point out to, the future small business owners, what's right, what's wrong, and things of that nature when they all present. But I'll speak for all of them and just say thanks for you guys doing that. I mean, I know that it does make the meetings long, but yeah, I think from this side of the table, everyone does appreciate that. So I just want to say, thanks and big ups to all of you guys for taking all that time. Didn't mean to put emphasis on the word all just then, but for taking the time to go through that. And then I just have a question, if it's possible to be answered. And it's in reference of the specialty schools. I was trying to look into the laws, and maybe I just missed it, and if so, just tell me to look again, and I'll try to find it myself. But I was trying to see, as far as in reference to specialty schools that may be doing just on the apprentice side of things, and they're doing just the theory only, I could not locate the square footage that's still required. Is that in there, or is that something?
There is no set square footage for apprenticeship. You don't have practical floor space. Therefore, if it's not there, it's probably because it doesn't exist. And yes, it would be at your business discretion.
I would say,
Got it.
Thomas, probably sufficient space for the number of students you have, because there are some components in there that people have to be spread out so much, and that has nothing to do with COVID. That goes back to Barber rules, I think.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you. And then Ms. Roxana, last question. I'm sorry. I know I'm last on here. So I know that you guys are making a ruling today. Do we know time frame wise, maybe, of how long it'll be before it's updated on the State Board site?
What's updated?
The cosmetology approved list. I'm sorry, not cosmetology. I'm sorry, the continuing education provider approved list.
It'll be a few days. We've already updated the 2022 calendar. So as soon as I can get it updated and get it to our web developer, he'll update the website.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks again for hearing me out today.
Thank you. Board members,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
it's okay with you, we are next on our agenda is the legal report. Is that okay? I will turn it over to Michael Underhill so we can go through the cases. On your tablets, you'll have to click on the upper left-hand corner to get to your library, and the legal report, as usual, is redacted before you, and it's there separately. It was also emailed to you, so I will turn it over to Michael. And
good morning, everybody. Hello, Mike. Mike, I just have a note, I guess, or a curiosity. I see several places where we've been in contact with the Consumer Affairs Division, and also some things that we referred to the district attorney. Should we expect to see a little bit more of that on those types of cases?
It's just going to be on a case-by-case basis. I mean, if the facts warrant it, then the referral letter will go out.
And I didn't see any changes needed. Thank you very much.
Have any other questions for Michael, or do we need a few more minutes?
Make a motion to accept the legal report.
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
Have a second. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain on items 54, 55, and 56, and vote aye for the rest.
Thank you, sir. Mike? Thank you, board members. The next item on our agenda is the rulemaking hearing. Similar to the legal report, if you'll press on the left-hand corner of your iPads, you'll see the library and click on the rulemaking hearing document. I'm going to turn it over to Hugh Cross.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but there are certain things I have to read on the record, which can take time, but just bear with me if you can. I'll go ahead and get the rulemaking hearing started. Are you ready? Okay. This rulemaking hearing is called to order. My name is Hugh Cross. I serve as an Assistant General Counsel at the Department of Commerce and Insurance, Division of Regulatory Boards, and I represent the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. Will the agency representatives who are present introduce themselves for the record? That would be each of the board members. If you would please just introduce yourself.
Is it okay if I do roll call vote?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, roll call.
Okay. Chairman Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Becky Russell?
Here.
A member Judy McAllister? Member Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Member Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Board Member Amy Tanksley?
Yes.
Board Member Frank Gambusa? Board Member Anita Charlton?
Yes.
Board Member Janie Ross? And Board Member Monica Lemons?
Yes.
All here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Today is Monday, February the 7th, 2022. This rulemaking hearing is taking place pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated section 45204 in room 1A of the Davy Crockett Tower, 500 James Robertson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee. The meeting information to attend this rulemaking hearing via WebEx was previously posted to the board website. The purpose of this rulemaking hearing is to solicit comments on proposed rules the board has made that are in response to statutory changes made with the passage of Public Chapter 549, signed into law on May 26, 2021 by Governor Bill Lee, which became effective on October 1st, 2021. The proposed rules remove the dual licensure requirement for a supervising licensed professional and now allows an apprenticeship to be done under a supervising licensed professional who is licensed under either 62.3.110, the Master Barber Certificate, or 62.3.124, the Barber Instructor Certificate. Further, revisions to Tennessee Code annotated section 62.3.124 reduce the educational hours required for barber instructors from 450 hours to 300 hours. Overall, the department anticipates that the changes will result in less barriers to entry into the industry by reducing requirements to enter the barber apprenticeship path and reducing educational requirements for barber instructor licensees. The rule is defined as an agency statement of general applicability that implements or prescribes law or policy or describes the procedures or practice requirements of the agency. Proposed rules are filed with the Office of the Secretary of State, notice is given to the public for comment, and a rulemaking hearing is held. Upon conclusion of the hearing and adoption of the proposed rules, the rules are forwarded to the Attorney General's office for review of legality. If approved, they are filed with the Secretary of State, which is responsible for publication, and the Government Operations Committee of the General Assembly. The rules must stay in the Secretary of State's office for 90 days, at the end of which time will be the effective date. The notice of rulemaking hearing included the entire text of the proposed rules and was published on the Tennessee Administrative Register website on November 2nd, 2021. Ms. Camuccio, what additional notice was given to the affected individuals or groups?
The board's website was updated prior consideration to these rulemaking hearing being held in December and then moved to this meeting, so they've been properly noticed on the board's website.
Thank you. This agency will consider all written comments related to the proposed rules. To the extent possible, the agency will also provide the opportunity for interested persons or their representatives to present verbal comments. I will now summarize the substance of the proposed rules into the record, and I will circle back to taking public comments afterwards. And to summarize the substance of the rules, I will go through the Notice of Rulemaking Hearing Form 7039, which is the provided redline version of the proposed rules, and I will need to read the rule chapter and the rule title numbers into the record as I go along. Overall, the proposed rules will amend one chapter and two rules under the chapter. Specifically, the changes are as follows. Chapter 0200-01, chapter title Licensing. Rule number 0200-01-.02, rule title Curriculum. The changes there are specific to section .024L121. That's entitled Curriculum. It's amended by deleting the text of the rule and substituting the following so that as amended, the amended rule shall read, any supervising licensed professional and responsible charges provided in this rule shall have at least 10 years of experience as a licensed professional in the field of study in which the supervision is provided and shall hold a certificate of registration as a master barber or barber instructor issued by the board. The supervising licensed professional's license must be current at all times while providing supervision. Second rule to be changed is 0200-01-.09, specific to section 2. This rule is amended by deleting the text of the rule and substituting the following so that as amended, the rule shall read, Section 2, Instructor Examination. Any person who desires a license to instruct in a school shall submit an application to the board on the prescribed form. The application shall be accompanied by satisfactory proof the application has been a master barber for 3 years or has completed and passed a board-approved instructor training course consisting of at least 300 hours. The examination of applicants for certificates of registration as an instructor shall consist of a theory examination and a practical demonstration. An applicant who attains a passing score on one part of the examination shall be excused from retaking such part for up to 3 additional examination attempts. Now that I've discussed the substance of the rules, I will move on to public comments. I will first proceed with any comments received in advance, and then proceed to gather any public comments made by those members of the public attending in person or remotely. I would like to note that I received one comment in advance on the proposed rules. Ms. Pam Chambers submitted a statement in advance of this rulemaking hearing in support of the changes regarding the apprenticeship path. Ms. Chambers stated the apprenticeship path would prepare the apprentice for future jobs by giving the apprentice hands-on experience required to succeed in the industry. Board have a response to that comment?
We appreciate all the input that we receive from the public.
I received no further comments in advance. Ms. Gamuccio, have you received any further comments in advance?
No, I have not, nor has the office.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public present attending in person who would like to offer verbal comments? If so, please approach the podium to sign in if you have not already and proceed with your comment. Seeing no one in the conference room, I will move on to those attending remotely. Are there any members of the public attending remotely who would like to offer verbal comments? If so, please state your name now clearly for the record and proceed with your comment. All right, hearing none, I will move on from the public comments section. Next, we will need to adopt a regulatory flexibility statement. The regulatory flexibility addendum statement requires analysis as to whether the rulemaking affects small businesses pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated section 45403. The statement will read, the proposed rules may have a minor impact on small businesses by creating more flexibility for interested individuals to engage in the Master Barber apprenticeship path. The proposed rules also reflect the reduction of educational hours required for barber instructors, lessening the requirements for licensure. Therefore, any impact would likely be positive for small businesses and open opportunities to attract new customers and ease barriers into the profession. The board knows of no other less burdensome, less intrusive, or less costly alternative to the methods of achieving the purpose and objectives of the proposed rules. The proposed rules will require minimal, if any, cost for compliance. Further, the board does not anticipate any impact to consumers with the promulgation of the proposed rules, and overall, the board anticipates that the changes will result in less barriers to entry in the industry by reducing requirements to enter the barber apprenticeship path and reducing educational requirements for barber instructor licensees. Any member of the board have any amendments to that statement as written? If there are changes to be made, then I will need to know what changes should be made to the statement, as well as a motion and roll call vote to adopt those changes. If there are none, then I will need a motion and roll call vote to adopt the statement as written.
We have a motion to adopt the statement as written.
I'll make a motion to adopt the statement as written.
I'll second it.
We have a motion is properly seconded to adopt. Any other discussion? Have a roll call vote.
Thank you. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley?
Yes.
Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Anita Charlton?
Yes.
Janie Ross? Monica Lemons?
Yes.
All in agreement.
Well, thank you. Now that we have adopted the regulatory flexibility statement, next we will need to adopt the impact on local government statement. The impact on local government statement requires a simple declarative statement without additional comments on the merit of the policy of the rule or regulation regarding the financial impact of the rules on local governments pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated sections 45220 and 45228. The statement will read, the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners does not anticipate any impact on local governments. Does any member of the board have any amendments to that statement as written? If there are changes to be made, I will need to know what the changes are, as well as a motion and roll call vote. If there are no changes, then I will need a motion and roll call vote to adopt the statement as written.
Changes? Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Motion and a second to adopt. Roll call vote.
Thank you. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley? Frank Ambusa?
Yes.
Anita Charlton?
Yes.
Janie Ross? Monica Lemons?
Yes.
All in agreement. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now that we have adopted the impact on local government statement, next we need to adopt answers to questions required by the Joint Government Operations Committee. The answers to the Joint Government Operations Committee are to a series of questions, which I will read now. The first question requires a brief summary of the rule inscription, which will read, the proposed rules were adopted for rulemaking by publication at the August 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. The proposed rules are in response to statutory changes made with the passage of Public Chapter 549, which was signed into law on May 26, 2021 by Governor Bill Lee, which became effective on October 1st, 2021. Specifically, Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 62.3, 123F, authorizes the board to create an apprenticeship path for prospective master barbers, but 123F2A required that the apprenticeship be done under a supervised licensed professional who is licensed under both Tennessee Code Annotated 62.3.110, the Master Barber Certificate, and Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62.3.124, the Barber Instructor Certificate. Public Chapter 549 removed this dual requirement and now allows an apprenticeship to be done under a supervising licensed professional who is licensed under either 62.3.110, the Master Barber Certificate, or 62.3.124, the Barber Instructor Certificate. Further, these rules reflect the change in Tennessee Code Annotated 62.3.124, which reduced the educational hours required for barber instructors from 450 hours to 300 hours. I will move on to the next question. The next question requires a citation and a brief description of any federal or state regulation mandating the promulgation of the rules, which will read, revisions to Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 62.3.123, remove the dual licensure requirement for a supervised licensed professional and now allows an apprenticeship to be done under a supervising licensed professional who is licensed under either 62.3.110, the Master Barber Certificate, or 62.3.124, the Barber Instructor Certificate. Further revisions to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62.3.124 reduce the educational hours required for barber instructors from 450 hours to 300 hours. The next question requires an identification of persons, organizations, corporations, or government entities that are most affected by these proposed rules, which will read, the proposed rule will affect current licensees and future applications for the Master Barber Apprenticeship Path and Master Barber Instructor. We expect all affected will approve the adoption of these rules because the proposed rules will result in less barriers to entry into the industry by reducing requirements to enter the barber apprenticeship path and reducing educational requirements for barber instructor licensees. The next question requires an identification of any opinions of the Attorney General and reporter and or any judicial ruling that relates directly to the promulgation of the proposed rules, which will read, there are no known opinions of the Attorney General and reporter or any judicial ruling that relates directly to these proposed rules. The next question requires an estimate of the probable increase or decrease in state or local government revenues and expenditures, if any, which will read, the board anticipates minimal impact to state and local government revenues and expenditures. This concludes the responses required for the Joint Government Operations Committee. Request for amendments to the statement. Does any member of the board have any amendments to the statement as written? These are a series of questions here. I can go back to any one of them.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Callahan? Becky Russell?
Yes.
Judy McAllister?
Yes.
Patricia Parsons?
Yes.
Mona Sappenfield?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley? Frank Musa?
Yes.
Charlton?
Yes.
Ross? Jenny Ross? Monica Lemons?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll say something.
Sure.
He would, and I have my hearing aids in, but to me, sitting here, he's talking to the wall. And he's turned that way. If he could just turn around and get closer to your mic, it would help me so much.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
kind
I
of.
passed, because
I tried to pull it closer, but it won't go any further. So.
Well, it may not. But
I'm kind of stuck.
if you'll get a little bit closer to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to it now, but I
That's
certainly will.
good. That's good.
I don't know if I can lean
better.
over any further. Well, I'll tell you this. This is the last. This is the last of it. I don't really have anything else to go through, so that this concludes the rulemaking hearing at this point. So everything I needed, I've gotten. So
Thank you, Hugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. That does conclude the rulemaking hearing, and we have a court reporter that'll have it transcribed in case anyone needs to look at it. I want to kind of briefly go through our agenda. The next items we have are our administrative items, and then we do have new business, which is the proposed rules. But I want to be courteous and let everybody decide. Would you like to take a quick break? Would you like a full lunch break? I can give you an idea.
1 to 7.
Hello? Do we have someone on Teams that had a question? Okay. So do we want to take a break? Do we want to continue? I can estimate the board meeting items that I have to go through. Those could take 40 minutes to maybe an hour. We have one application you all will need to review in a little bit more depth. And then, of course, the proposed rules were sent to everybody to work on. It just depends how much work we got done. They could just take a few minutes to a full hour. So I leave it up to you. I just wanted to let you all think about all that.
You continue.
Let's continue.
We're continuing.
Okay, we'll continue.
Okay, thank
Need
you.
a short break, we may take
Yes, you let me know. Stop me. You know that. And I tend to go fast sometimes. So we are back to our full presentation on your iPads, and we're starting on page 317. So these are our applications to test. You have before you two individuals. These are Ms. Julia Bittinger and Mr. Michael Flippen. These applicants have felonies within the last 3 years and or are currently incarcerated. The request is for them to be able to take the Tennessee examination. Their information is submitted before you for review. Their disclosure agreement is also there and recommendation from the school they attended. The board normally approves these with 2 years of an agreed probationary order, and legal counsel presents those. So I'll let you review, and if there are no questions, just a motion to treat these as we have others.
I'd like to make a motion to approve these licensees with the 2-year agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve with the 2-year consent order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to our reciprocity applications. And of course, the board knows, thanks to the different things we've laid out for those that substantially meet our requirements, we approve almost all of these in the office. This one is coming before you and starts on page 327. This application for reciprocity is for a cosmetology license from New York for Mr. Suxi Wu. A lookup of the license reflects the initial license was issued on November 30th, 2021, with hours from New York and both exams. Mr. Wu was licensed in Tennessee in 2013 with documents from Puerto Rico. An administrative review concluded that, with assistance from the Puerto Rican authorities, that the licensing information that was obtained was not accurate. His Tennessee license was revoked in May of 2014. With this current application, Mr. Wu has provided educational documents from 2 separate schools in Tennessee. Both of these schools have been revoked. Separately, Mr. Wu was inspected as a shop owner in the Memphis area while working on an unlicensed license himself and no manager present. That shop license has had several complaints and that shop has been revoked. It is currently under new ownership to someone still in the family. And so I'm presenting for you all the documents we have for your review and consideration of Mr. Wu's license.
Does he have a license or not have a license?
He has a license in New York. We don't have certification of the license, and that is one of 2 things. He didn't ask for it, or it hasn't gotten here. The New York State Board, so you have before you the revocation documents, and I do think we have an email from New York confirming he has a license. We can verify about 20 states' licenses ourselves. So those that we do them the minute we get the application. It gets people working in reciprocity within 2 days. It used to take us a month and a half to 2 months. So all that is wonderful. This license seems to be in New York and it's active with both exams. The concern, of course, is the discipline within Tennessee and the fraudulent Puerto Rican documents. But back to your answer, Ms. Tanksley, I apologize. We don't have the actual certification from New York. We just have the email, and it is on your iPads on page 331, and that is New York's licensing board. Correct. And then again, he has provided documents from ours in Tennessee, but both those schools are revoked. I'm giving you a lot of information.
Taken in Tennessee?
Not in Tennessee.
Okay.
And so that is an option too.
He's not tested.
New York says that he has.
I feel that with the information that we've been given, I feel that he should have to pass both exams in Tennessee. That would be my motion.
Thank you.
That's fair.
Ron, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second to have him take both exams in Tennessee. In our discussion here, I'm looking at some of the documents from the schools, particularly the record of completion. The one, in my experience, the first one I'm looking at just doesn't look right.
And again, both those schools are revoked, so I don't want you. Yes, you are correct. New York on the email does say that they have hours from New York and exams. And Chairman Gillihan, we have a motion and a second. I don't know if we want to continue.
We're in the discussion of this. I'm seeing that when I add the hours from both of those Tennessee schools, it comes up to 1,545 hours. Just some things I'm noticing.
I don't. I've been very involved with the shop and the revocation piece of that license, opening the shop back up under new ownership. So I really wanted to get the board members everything we had. The Puerto Rico fraudulent documents, most of you would not remember, but we did have several licenses that were revoked with the same documents used. And that was the first time that we were able to get with the licensing piece in Puerto Rico and be able to look up a method, and all those documents at that time were fraudulent. Hours, letters of recommendation from work.
So was it did New York use reciprocity from Puerto Rico to license him in New York?
They're not confirming that in the email. They simply said they have education and exams.
I think I'd like to see more information about the education from New York. I want to see a legitimate something from a school, a transcript, something that proves that he was in a legitimate school in New York.
Roxana, we weren't concerned that he used the incorrect Tennessee hours to get his reciprocity in New York. That's not the right time frame.
Correct. That doesn't seem to be the right time frame. With only an email and not having a certification now, New York, and of course, Frank mentioned it, the hours are lower, but New York's certificate lists practical and theory hours in a very nice way. We can see when they took it. We don't necessarily have that, but it's my understanding that the exams were pretty recent, but nothing on the education any deeper. And New York does shred all their documents after 5 years. So it could be that their answer is going to be the hours are more than 5 years, and therefore we don't have them. And
I'd like to put it on the licensee, or I want to put it on him to come up with some kind of transcript from his schooling in New York. If the state of New York cannot provide us with that.
No, he names the 2 Tennessee schools. And it would be relatively current, is my understanding, if he did complete those hours in New York. So we have a motion. Does that die automatically?
No,
Okay.
no. We have a motion and we have a second. So in our discussion, we've seen what Becky has. We can either amend the motion, or we can vote on this motion and vote to approve or deny. And then if we were to amend it,
Frank, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. There you go.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just think, being that I second it, I'd rather go ahead and add Becky's amendment to it, based on the fact that it's a big gray, and I think it needs special attention.
would you amend your?
Yes, I would amend my motion with what Becky had said.
So the motion has been amended to have the applicant provide transcripts, proof of education from the New York.
And then pass both exams.
And then pass both exams.
Okay. And if I can add, just for the board members' peace of mind, if New York cannot certify those hours, then I would even bring him before you for a decision. I would need to actually know that the school acknowledges all that information, given that we have history of fake documents from Puerto Rico. That would be my reasoning.
So we have a motion and a second. Does everybody understand the motion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on your iPads, we start with our miscellaneous applicants. That starts on page 346 of your iPads. Okay. Our first request is a request for an approval of a manicurist license for Fung Go. Ms. Go was licensed by Reciprocity from Texas in 2013. The license was revoked in December 2016 for failure to obtain the licensure as the state requires. Since then, she has attended a school in Tennessee. She has passed the theory exam in April 2021 and the practical exam on November 30th of 2021. We've seen similar applicants, and when they attend a school here and pass the exams, we've approved those licenses to go out, but I leave that at your discretion.
She had met all the conditions of the previous consent order.
Yes.
Okay. And she passed both of her tests.
Correct. Woo's different because of the reciprocal second and then a complaint in the middle of it. This is not the case with Ms. Mill. Thank you, Amy.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, you have a request starting on page 359. This is a request to waive the re-examination pursuant to Rule 0440-1-.10, which states that an applicant must pay for and apply and pay for the original license. If after 6 months they have not applied for their license, they must retest. The board may, for good cause, waive this requirement. The board has previously given me the authority to grant extensions up to 6 months, which would give us a total of 1 year. Ms. Ashley Shelley has provided an explanation that she attempted to get her license. She passed the practical reinstatement exam on July 15th of 2020. So this is her reinstatement, not her original.
Passed her test. She had a license.
She's had a license here in Tennessee. She went past the 3 years of renewal, so that license automatically requires you to test.
Okay.
She completed everything to do the reinstatement exams, but then when she passed the second one, the letter we sent missed her. So.
Okay. She's had that exam twice.
Yes, she doesn't want it a third, I'm sure.
Motion to approve her.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, you have a request for approval of a master barber license. This license is for Mr. Delvin Washington. Mr. Washington was licensed with education from a Tennessee school and both exams in 2005. That license expired in 2011, and Mr. Washington would have needed to take the reinstatement exams. He was working on that expired license and entered into a payment plan as part of the civil penalty and the consent order. His license was revoked in 2017 for failure to comply with the payment plan. Since then, he's paid the civil penalties and he's passed his practical exam on January 3rd of 2022. And his application starts on page 365. I apologize.
He is clear on all the consent orders.
Yes, that was part of the delay for getting him to be able to take his exams.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. We have one more item, and then I can't forget to add one that just came in last Thursday, too late to make your iPads, but it's similar to this one. So you have before you, starting with page 376 on your iPads, it's a request to waive the need to retest pursuant to Rule 0440-1-.10, which states that the applicant must apply for and pay for their original license within 6 months after passing the examination. The board may, for good cause, waive this requirement. You have previously given me the permission to extend these for up to an additional 6 months, which would put us at a full year. Ms. Agatha Woom has applied for her license by reciprocity and needed to pass her practical exam as part of the item sheet, the only thing she was missing for reciprocity. But she otherwise met all the other requirements. She provided an explanation that she moved 3 different times in 2020 and had hardship due to COVID. She passed a practical exam on August the 1st of 2019.
She took part of her exam in Iowa. Is that what I'm saying?
Yes. So the reciprocal state she was coming from just didn't have that practical. That's all she was missing. We put her in for the practical only. And unfortunately, due to moving several times in COVID, she didn't apply for that license. So.
Approving her to take her second part of her test, then, right?
Passed it. You're approving her to not have to retake them. She passed over a year ago. So she's similar to the other two we presented.
I would make a motion.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This applicant you don't have on your iPad, she's similar to, not by reciprocity. She's an initial student from Tennessee. Her name is Taylor Evans. Miss Evans passed her practical exam on January 19th, 2021. Had I gotten this just a week and a half earlier, I would have been able to approve her. But by the time her application reached me, she'd just gone over the year. So it would be an approval, so she wouldn't have to retest. And she too had moved and missed the fact that she needed to have applied.
Make a motion to approve her.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. We are moving on to the director's report on your iPads. This is the financial numbers start on page 383. Our last meeting, well, this one's pretty long as well, but our last one was even more so. So we kind of skipped over this. I just wanted to make sure that the board members had a chance to look at our 4 years projection. We have the 2020-2021 closing numbers. The board finished with a reserve in the positive of $1,147,716. You can see that that amount is growing each year a little, as it should, but nothing outrageous. I think our increase in fees and our leveling off of fees in 2017 were pretty good. It keeps us at a good pace. Our barbers are just about at the same place as cosmetologists. Something to keep in mind for our barber members that are here is if you pay late, your fee still doubles. That's the only difference in the fee. Otherwise, our shops and schools and licensees are at the same place, but the law has that your fee doubles. So at some point, maybe we can get that fixed. But other than that, I think we're at a good place with our numbers. The following page lists the year-to-date for the December 2021 numbers. That's the last report that we have. And it does show that month at a loss, but we're still brings our reserve to $1,169,247. I think anytime we have a lot of investigative costs, heaven forbid a lawsuit, you'll see that number fluctuate a little bit. But in December, we just had more cost backs that hadn't been charged in the month of November. That's why we're seeing it as a negative. Nothing, I don't think, to worry about. I welcome any questions that you might have. Otherwise, the numbers are for your information, of course. We couldn't hear you, Frank. There you go. Now you got it. He wants to hear that.
I think with that kind of surplus, we should give Ron about 100 G's a year raise.
There you go.
For his position.
A nice raise compared to the per diems. Yeah.
Can I get 50?
Frank, I love you.
I was wanting 50.
Do we get a motion for that? Roxanne, I had a question about the technology. We were paying some expenses in the last few years for some technology updates. Are we just about there on those? Or
so in that's a great point. If you look at the 4-year number, that black and white that looks at 2017, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and then 2021, come down toward the bottom, the second to last, that 58,000. That number is our share as the Cosmetology and Barber Board. The entire division, every program got a share based on their number in reserves. So compared to other programs, if it was based on licensees, it would have been double or triple. But based on reserves to what we spend, we really have a small reserve because we spend about $2,500,000 to $3 million in expenses each year. So I think our reserves at a good number. That is our breakdown of the most recent update to core, the online piece. And we're going to have a big enhancement soon. And maybe if I say it on the record, it'll be sooner with our inspection side to where our field inspectors are actually going to even enter their own documents. It'll have some added features for them that I'm very excited about. So we keep moving forward with technology. Thank you. That's a great question.
Motion for this?
No, it's just information, but thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
So before we go on to our new business, the only update that I've got, and then I welcome anything else the board members have, I do want to just touch on some updates to PSI and our testing vendors, especially those associated with schools. And we've approved several today, so I always want our schools to be aware of changes. The board had amended the PSI contract many months ago, and it was to allow for the exams to be given virtually. And so the theory and the practical can be taken by that candidate from home. There's some technology requirements, obviously, if they take that. But then there's also a move to the database of questions to be more national and not just Tennessee. And we were very blessed to have Ms. Russell and Mr. Gillihan work directly with PSI and some of those changes. Those rolled out just recently. So January the 31st was their down day, we'll call it. All of their system went down to roll the data over into the new database. And then effective the 2nd of February, which I think was Tuesday, the first group took the practical exam. And thank goodness it went very well. PSI was very happy with the results. There didn't seem to be massive confusion. PSI has done 2 different trainings for this change. And a drastic change, of course, for instructors, as you can imagine. It is a big change. It's a big change in the way we view things. The exam, in particular, the practical, is a lot more focused on letting the making sure that the public is protected. It's all about sanitation, and if there's harm to the public, that's what we're testing. Little things that are about perfecting the service are no longer being tested. They're being taught at the schools. And so if you do have instructors or schools that are concerned, feel free to send them my way. I've tried to vet those calls because, we do get some of but they're not going to be producing great students, or what about this cut or this shave? And the reality is, and I'll pick on the shaves, I think there used to be 14 strokes. We're down to 4 being tested because we're only testing on the items that could hurt someone. And so the exam is about protecting the public, not anything else, because the reason we're regulated is strictly to protect the public. So I think the schools are slowly understanding that doesn't mean they don't teach as well. They need to teach like they did or even better. But the exam is testing for one reason only.
On the shave, to
Yes.
enlighten that a little bit, it's really simple. There's always only been 4 independent strokes, and they're duplicated through a shave process until there's 14 movements on the face. It's still the same 4 strokes. They're testing for those. And if you can do those 4 strokes, then you don't need to do them multiple times through that, I think, is the logic on that. So it makes perfect sense to me, and that probably means it doesn't make any sense to anybody else. So.
There is mud, Ron.
Yep. Change my name to Mud. Okay.
But I think so far, we'll find out. It's going okay. They've got some minor items, but those of you that haven't visited their website, it does look quite a bit different. As other states start using the same national database of questions, their link's going to change a little bit, but so far, I think that's all I've got. Oh, and a side note, the domestic violence rollout went into effect January 1st. So for our licensees in the room, everyone on their next renewal has to take the new law, which requires the domestic violence training. The way the law passed is whoever offers that training has to offer it for free, has to be less than an hour, and it must be approved by the Tennessee Coalition. So as of right now, Sheer Haven through the YWCA has an approved course. That's where our link takes you. Barbicide hosts it because they're able to hold on to the certificates, allow the board to search for them if we need them. I think the industry is very welcoming to this. We've gotten huge media coverage, obviously, but also just a lot of positive feedback. Everyone seems to be very aware that this has taken place. When you receive your renewal notice, the information's on the notice and it points to the website. And when you renew online, it asks you the question, have you taken the mandatory domestic violence training? If you say no, it points you back to the website to take it. But if you did not take it in this renewal cycle, we have a path moving forward because although it just went into effect, you've got until December 31st, 2025. As you can imagine, we've got 78,000 licensees. We don't want everybody doing it in 2025. So we're really focusing on getting it done now.
Roxanne, if I can add one more thing about
Please.
the PSI, with the ability to administer the test outside of those testing centers. Of course, the student still will always have that option to go into the testing center. That's not going to change. But being able to do it outside obviously is going to, we hope, help to eliminate all the backlogs of students trying to get tested. Sometimes it gets to be quite a wait for a student to be able to get a slot, and it gets very inconvenient and holds them up from going to work. So, hopefully that'll work out real well, and it'll come off nicely. I would ask you, if you would, to just continue to follow up regarding the manicure portion on the Barber's test. I know they're still working on some update there.
Thank you. Okay, if we have nothing else, we will work on the proposed rules. So everyone should have received the rules at home via email. They start on your iPad on page 386. I have also put in front of you the paper version of those rules if you want to write down and look at those. Basically, and I can turn it over to Hugh and I can stop talking, but I do want to let everyone know we worked on sanitation. We had been addressing the fact that sanitation needed to be cleaned up, some terminology that hadn't been looked at in a long time. So that is part of what we're doing here, is looking at those sanitation pieces. And then along those lines, we had talked about shops that are very specific in the services that they offer. They had come to us, not often, but on occasion we would get shops that wanted a waiver of a shampoo bowl. Is easy to pick on. And for a while we approved those, and then we determined that the best way to handle it was through rulemaking hearing to be very specific. So on these rules, you have a separate line item for these shops that offer very specific. We're seeing more and more the eyelashes, just the makeup, several skincare shops that are focusing only on that and using everything disposable. And so it was just very difficult without some of that flexibility for people to move to Tennessee and offer services because they don't want a full shop. And then a couple of other cleanup items, word choices such as the blood spill kit. Those are in hospitals. Hopefully our shops don't need a true blood spill kit, but we do need a first aid kit. And so some changes to things that, the books have done, the examination providers have done. And then we are eliminating the sharps container. That has been a pretty difficult back and forth with shops. Most of our shops have no idea and just flat out have said, don't use any sharps, would never have sharps. And so we were requiring something that a huge percentage we're not using. So those that obviously offer services and need them would have to have them, but not all shops and not all schools. So that's a quick recap. Hugh, I will turn it over to you as this is your thing.
Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions. I'm a mere scribe. I tried to draft these rules essentially focused on sanitation, and I made various changes there based on vocabulary. You can see from the red line you have there that there's various changes, mainly to the vocabulary. Also remove the blood exposure kit or blood spill kit, pretty much wherever I found it. And then I also replaced there was a requirement to have neck strips with a clean cape, so I've removed the neck strips and just left the clean cape in there. And if you have any questions or want to adjust something, I'm here.
And if I could point out, Becky worked, thank you, Becky, had to kind of work on our draft version. We weren't sure where to even start. And so she made heads or tails so that then Hugh could create a true red line version for you to look at. We were a little bit stuck.
Yes, thank you for that. It was extremely helpful.
I looked over it and read it. I thought it was great. I did have a question about the sharps. What would they do with the sharps? Y'all may have said, maybe I didn't hear.
Well, that was the question the shops have been giving us. So there are many shops, and Mona can elaborate, that probably need them and should have them and use them and know what they are. 80% of our shops, I would say, don't. didn't even know what they were because they just don't use the sharps for the services that they offer. And so these rules went into effect, I think, in June with them. What we were doing with the equipment is pointing to, if you provide services that have these sharps containers that have the possibility of an injury and you'd have to dispose of them correctly, have someone pick up the items, then you would have to have them. But the vast majority of our shops, insisted
that was my question.
That's why you.
So I'm thinking like a nurse when it said that.
Yes, and that is what a couple of people in the medical field reached out and said. Why are your shops carrying something like this unless you're associated with the medical profession? And so that this would be. It's not that no one needs them. I'm certain some shops need them, but we have it right now on all of our schools and all of our shops. You got it.
Done some work on this.
Hugh, having remembered the previous generations of animal regulations in shops, tell me a little bit about this one. We're eliminating some of that language.
Well, I just basically just directed to the statute. Because if the statute changes, then we don't have to change the rules again. Because that's a lot of my experience with these rules is me coming back and changing stuff that it's basically just because the statute changed. So I figured the language was a little different between cosmetology and barber. So I think Roxanne and I discussed it and just thought it'd be better just direct to the statute. That way, if people ask, "Can I have animals in shops?" You have to look at the statute, and we cite the statute there, and that was my thought.
It becomes real clear.
Yes, sir. I'll also point out that the page count, I have 18 pages here. A lot of it has to do with just renumbering or relettering everything. So when I change something, when I change something, I take E out of a section of A to Z, then I have to type the whole thing out and basically re-letter everything to replace the E that was there. So that it's lengthy, but it's really a lot of it is just retyping the rules as they are. So
a question, mainly just because where I have been inspecting when I went to a school, where it says adequately spaced shampoo bowls, it doesn't have like a certain distance that they need to be. Like it has 5 shampoo basins, but if they're really, really close and you can't walk between them, should there, or could there any way we could have a minimum space between the sinks, or no?
Well, I mean, I don't see a reason why you couldn't. That would be a board question. I don't think there's.
And the only thing I want to caution us is, if we do require spacing, which I understand, that means that every new shop that's opening is going to have to be bigger than maybe they want to be. When shops call and speak to us, and schools are the same, that's the information that I'll present. Our board members want to see you succeed. We want to see you succeed, and having space makes sense. But we tend to want to hopefully all be less requiring, less demanding. Then it becomes their business decision. If Frank's shop has 60 shampoo bowls, he would get to decide the spacing and the parameters, and maybe he does need a lot of space because then his staff wouldn't bump into each other, but maybe not. Maybe the goal is just to make best use of the space. So if we do add the requirement, you just have to realize that it is a little bit of extra imposition on everybody.
I would like to keep the adequately spaced only because we have wall mounted units versus stand behind. Stand behind technically could be closer together than wall mounted units because you have to. So, right.
Mine is side by side, it's a backwash.
Right.
And side by side, I would agree with you.
Because when I was inspected, I couldn't squeeze between the sinks to shampoo, and then the one was against the wall. So I just didn't know if am I supposed to, be able to get between the sink?
I think that becomes a marketing.
Because they could be bigger too, yeah.
Frank, we
So as
can't
long
hear
as
you.
they have the correct amount. Yes.
I think that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
Because I said
Frank, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. There you go. You're on now.
yeah, it depends on the design of the apparatus itself. Some built the space in and some don't. So I think you can really, I don't think you can inspect that on kind of a consistent basis. So I'd be careful with that as a recommendation's fine, I think, but to totally control it, I don't see it happening.
It would become their business decision, right?
Can you hear me now? All right. There are, under both the Cosmo sections and the Barber sections, you may have noticed, but there's two new sections, one under each, that will allow the executive director the discretion to waive certain equipment requirements. So you'll see they're typed out in blue there. For Barber, it's going to be the new section 3.17, and then for Cosmo, it's, let's find it here.
2.18.
Yeah, they're essentially the same language, but that's the goal there, is to allow the executive director to waive certain requirements if applicants, can't meet them, or they have limited services that they provide. So it made sense on our end, but I welcome any commentary there as well.
I think you folks have done a fabulous job working on these and putting it together. Thank you so much.
A motion to approve.
Sure, I'd like a motion to approve. That'd be great. Thank you.
A motion to
Patty and Janie. We have a motion and a second to approve. Is this a roll call, Roxana?
Yes. By roll call vote to approve the proposed rules that were worked on without any changes. Ron Gillihan,
Yes.
Becky Russell,
Yes.
Judy McAllister,
Yes.
Patricia Parsons, Mona Sappenfield, Amy Tanksley. Tanksley had to leave us. Frank Gambusa,
Yes.
Anita Charlton, Janie Ross, and Monica Lemons.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is unanimous. Can you give them an idea of timeline?
Sure. As far as the timeline goes, well, the rulemaking hearing for the apprenticeship rules, we did that today, so that's next going to go to the Attorney General's office, and it's sort of out of my control there. But for these rules, the equipment waiver rules, they were approved today, so I will move them along, and my hope is, some of this is out of my hands, but I can prove it within the next couple of days, if not today, and then my hope is that I will present these to you all again for an actual vote in April. April 20, yeah, at the next meeting. If not, the June meeting. So,
And as far as when are they available for the public? Would it be the April meeting or not until the June?
the rulemaking hearing?
Yes.
Well, you know, I was thinking about that. I mean, if they're, I know you and I originally discussed having a window of time. So if there's any changes that come along, but I
don't think we have any.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Well,
can file 'em.
all right. Well, that's faster than I anticipated. So, I will definitely aim for April. That's my goal, to have the rulemaking hearing. So
that would mean that what you have in front of you is a work copy. You're welcome to just leave them here. They'll actually be made available through the Secretary of State. There's a timing, and the public's made aware, because, as Hugh says, it looks like a lot of pages, but it's moving things up. But it does look like a lot of pages, and so we want to make sure to be transparent about it all. We want shop owners are actually going to opine, mostly thrilled that the Sharps containers is going away, but I'm sure that they will, send in comments and even come in person. So if it's the April meeting, it again may not be much opposition, but those that are experts in sanitation, they could send us a word or two changes that maybe we missed. That would be when we would get those final revisions to then be able to proceed. Correct?
that's about right. Yeah. The part of it is I have to give proper notice to the public, and then there's also internal procedures that can take time. So, I mean, like I said, I hope the rulemaking here will be April, but it most likely could be June as well. So, but I'll keep you updated.
April's not official, is what we're saying.
Well, I'll do everything I can.
We've had rules
Yeah.
take over 2 years, so I think this will be amazing. I think that's all we have. Board members, any questions, comments, thoughts?
Y'all have worked very hard on this. You had to have had. And I appreciate it, and I
Well,
think everybody
again,
else does
without
too.
Miss Russell, we would have shown you a very different look. It would not have been pretty. Let's be sure. Yes,
I just knew
definitely.
the vocabulary. It's fine.
Well, I guess with that, we'll be adjourned.
Great seeing everybody.
Great seeing
Again.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels.
Seeing y'all.
Hey, do we have? I do apologize for being a little late this morning.
Great.
I got stuck in traffic over at Mount Juliet coming in.
Do we need a motion? Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
That's
hit
the
it twice.
easiest. That's the easiest
Motion
second that we
carries.
got all day.